This is the MeatEater Podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater Podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater Podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. No, start the machine.
This machine's been on for 20 minutes, Steve.
Well, start the edit. Let me tell you
the
something.
red light blink.
This is the first part of this show. I was going to talk about something different, but I forgot the book. You know what I was going to talk about?
Not a clue.
I'm going to tell you what was going to be the first part of the show. I'm reading this book. Well, I finished it now. It's about fur. It's like it's the autobiography of a fur trapper from Alaska in the 20s and 30s.
Christ.
Well, so back in them days, a big thing to do in the spring is you'd go over to what's that huge wetland like in the Yukon right across from the Crow Flats?
All right.
And you'd go there and you'd trap muskrats and shoot muskrats at 22s.
For the pelts or for everything?
It was big. It was big money.
All right.
When you were doing it, there wasn't much to eat till the ducks showed up. So you ate muskrats. And he said that he describes this guy's muskrat recipe. He would cook 12 at a time. And he had some kind of oil can, okay? And his recipe, and he explains it in great detail. You take a dozen muskrats, gut them, and put them in head down, tail up. Okay? And you
Like a corn dog.
Yeah, you boil that for 20 minutes. Then you flip them.
Boil it in water. We're not in the oil.
Boil in water,
Okay.
20 minutes. Then you flip them. Tail down, head up.
All right.
Boil that for 20 minutes.
Good God.
And you pull the muskrats out, sprinkle some flour, and this is the only thing this guy carried 2 items with him. Coffee, flour.
And that can of oil.
And that can. 20 minutes, then he puts a little flour in there to thicken up that broth.
Stop it. Stop it.
And listen, that's what this guy lives on for months. And get this, the problem is in those days, you'd make it back, so you'd leave Crow Flats and you'd make it back to Fort Yukon. But no boats could come up the Yukon until later in the summer. So even when you got back to Fort Yukon, there's nothing to eat.
Yeah. Well,
He would bring back bags of hundreds of dried muskrats
to make soup.
until a boat came up the river, at which point you would resume your normal diet.
Wow. I tell you what, you got to get creative. I give it to them. You find some little aromatics you get in there, throw some little some little herbs that might be growing in the spring, little flowers. There's probably some delightful little stuff growing up there. And you make yourself a little muskrat tea. I'm into it. It's probably not that bad. He might want to invest in a little salt. And then you could really get away with a lot, man. Some wild onions.
A couple of spruce tips in there. Doing something different.
He didn't do any of that. Joined today by Brad Leone. And now I'm going to tell you what I was going to tell you, because I was going to start talking about that muskrat deal, but I'm not.
I'd try it.
We had a GMO expert on.
Oh, boy. Was he a
Remember this?
doctor?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Corinne found
Fred
the world's
Gould.
leading expert on GMOs.
Whew, that's a hell of a title.
I mean,
After Steve.
he's an academic.
All right.
Well, yeah. It's like there's a few things that I'm very, very versed in. Judaism.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Really?
And GMOs. The G's.
Odd focus of study.
So, and also Danish cinema, but I'll leave that out. So,
Gotta love
what was I
Mads
saying?
Mikkelsen.
Oh, we had a GMO expert on.
Okay.
At the end of a long interview in which we explored all the ins and outs, pros and cons of GMOs. And he gave us some information that was a little outdated, like, for instance, the recovery of the American chestnut. Okay?
Yeah. Used to be the predominant tree in the Northeast, I believe.
Yeah. Not misinformation, but there was a lot of excitement about a genetic modification that would allow the American chestnut to return to American forests, right?
Kick the blight.
Yeah, and it wound up being a little bit. It wound up later became a little complicated about
little shaky in the science, Steve.
Well, how they the canopy formation and stuff. Anyways, because they were using
They turned into zombies.
it was a long time ago. I can't remember the details.
Here, I'm just
but I
gonna-
do remember this. Go ahead.
No, this is Fred Gould. He's the co-director of the Genetic Engineering and Society Center of North Carolina State. And he's also in the Department of Entomology and Plant Pathology.
Yeah, I used to hold that position at that place. He was my predecessor. So
He would make
No.
outrageous claims like, I invented the paperclip.
So at the end of the interview, I said this. I said to, what was his name?
Fred.
Fred. I says, Fred, let's say you were falling off a cliff and you knew you'd die when you hit. Okay?
Yes.
And so you don't have to in any way live with the ramifications of what you're going to say. There's no need to be political.
All right.
There's no need to be appropriate. And I yelled to him as he's falling, Fred, are GMOs good or bad? And you know what he said he'd yell back? It depends.
Classic. What is he? Was Fred a lawyer too? I think that's an accurate answer.
That's great.
Surprised you didn't just put a gun to his head. You're old faithful for getting truth out of folks. You went with the falling cliff scenario.
Guys are rough out here.
Well, I think that in that type of question, the falling cliff thing is
Okay.
better.
Yeah,
it
you
works
needed to be
better.
brief.
I've had experience in each, you know.
Steve, before the podcast, Brad was very complimentary of your pelts in the room here. He had a lot of questions about the ones on this wall behind us, though.
That's a mountain goat.
Not a lot of questions. The little white ones. What are those things?
Ermine.
Ermine. Where do they fester?
That's a long-tailed weasel, but he in the winter when he's got a white coat, he becomes an ermine. There was a king. Are you familiar with those? Like when you checking out an old king
No, I don't check many old kings
in
out.
pictures.
Yeah,
and he's
all right.
got that big white scarf that's specked with black specks.
Okay.
Stole?
There was a king that had one made from 5,000
What a stud.
ermine.
Oh.
Yesterday, I got back my 20 beaver blanket.
Oh yeah, huh?
Holy
Oh,
cow!
wow.
How's that
How much
thing,
does that
warm?
weigh?
What's that?
How much does that weigh?
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It's like a security blanket.
I had
blanket.
an odd conversation with my mother-in-law. She's beholding it when I took it out of the box.
All right. What, the beaver blanket?
The blanket.
She's taking it all in.
And she was saying, she was asking me, because it's like kind of like laid out on the couch.
How
And
big?
she's asking me, it's
Like a two-person?
6, I think it's 6 by 5.
Wow.
It strips. It's beautiful. Don Clifford from Clifford's Critter Creations. Don't call him because he's trying to retire. No, call him. Maybe he'll make you. Listen,
Sounds
I
probably
sent
a
him
ton of
all my
work.
tanned hides. He put this whole thing together for $500.
Well, he's gonna have to raise the price.
Well,
after
I think
this.
he lost his ass on it.
Yeah.
I just imagine much your, for retirement.
Oh
your mother-in-law looking at that blanket and going, my God, I've never been more impressed by you, Stephen.
She liked it,
Magnum opus.
but she was asking me, "Is it all one piece?" And I didn't understand. And I thought she meant, "Is that all one beaver?"
giant beaver.
And I was saying, "Well, no, they're only yay big." And she's like, "Well, that's not what I mean. I mean,
Well, what did she mean?
I don't know."
It's a or maybe she thought there was like some type of filler.
Yeah. So you never got clarification on it.
No,
I don't think. Yeah, that's
no,
don't make no sense.
no.
You look like a Game of Thrones character with all these pelts, like wrapped around yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
listen, man, that blanket is awesome. King in the North. I'll bring it down here and show you guys.
Okay.
Seth has one. So me and Seth had 50 beavers, and we sent them in and got 2 blankets, and then we had a bunch of leftovers.
You guys do a lot of beavering.
Dude,
Old-
and we're only skimming the cream off the top.
Really?
You can't get to all the people that call you about beaver dams.
A lot of people so beavers are booming.
I don't touch a beaver that's not causing someone trouble.
Right. Okay.
I don't.
I believe you.
The code of the West.
You know,
I don't even need like the wild ones.
Yeah.
Not
You don't even need to touch them. I'm after the ones that they're ready to. We're gonna dynamite them and
dynamite them.
whatever. I'm after the people. Like, I go out to the people that are fed.
That got a
up.
problem.
That beaver's got a price on his head. By the
My
point I get
neighbor's
to
got
him.
a little bit of a problem
Oh well,
down the road.
have him call me here.
No, over in Connecticut.
Oh,
There's
that's
a-
way down the road.
Yeah.
That's like that's
No, down the road
highway.
from me,
Oh,
from my
yeah.
house, my neighbor, and it's the road. The water is almost starting to come onto the street. I think it's about to become a problem. So maybe, folks like maybe I'll have to get it because Cal and I yesterday cooked up a little beaver here in the
They cooked up your
in the
bait.
MeatEater
Well,
headquarters.
I don't know. I haven't. They probably. I had
think
some
it
that
was
was and some that was not. Well, no, because they had bones in it. They didn't have my scrap. No.
Yeah.
If it said, did it say scrap?
It didn't say anything. It wasn't labeled. It wasn't labeled at all.
Because I bagged my flesh and trims, but you guys had bones.
Well,
There was
Dr.
bones.
Williams has a hand in this too because he had a freezer malfunction,
It
so he
was
brought a bunch of bear
filthy,
beat
Steve.
here
Had dirt on it,
that was like
Yeah, I'd
semi-thawed.
have to look at it.
pine cones.
Oh,
There were
Was
some
it scrap?
accusations that it was your bait that they were
I
cooking.
think
I
Yeah.
didn't see the bag,
It
so
was
I
just a
don't know.
large
Gallon
Ziploc.
bag.
But it wasn't like fleshing scraps.
No.
I heard about this, but I was occupied all day in this room.
Tell you what, we made some miracles with it. 'Cause,
Well, I ate it, it's fine.
Regardless of what it was.
It was fine.
I ate it. No, spectacular.
You said it was very good when we handed it to
Oh
you.
no, I didn't mean like that.
We have it on
It was
camera.
spectacular.
It's my first time, and it was.
Kimmy Werner just sent me a video of her. So I sent Kimmy Werner home with some beaver meat.
I actually, I met.
She sent me a video of her little boy running around eating a beaver, eating a beaver
Wafting it.
leg. my kid's watching the video of me. He goes, "Where'd he get a beaver?"
That's
Oh,
great.
you know what's hilarious about kids too is it was my older boy's birthday, and so there's only like my favorite restaurant is Wasabi.
When's your kid's
It's like
birthday? I
Van
just
Dam,
had
yesterday.
some. Oh, okay. May 2nd, May 3rd are my kids.
So me and our family and my kid and all his buddies went to Wasabi last night, which is one of those hibachi grills.
Yeah, kids love
And my
that.
little boy hates salad. One time he was trying to explain. He's trying to like capture the defining difference between kids and adults, and it was that adults like salad. So when he orders, they're saying soup or salad.
Right.
He thinks they're saying, "Do you want the soup or salad?" No. He's like, no, soup or salad. No. My wife's like, "But you like that soup or salad?" No. And then he finally
That's
put
hilarious.
it together that it wasn't the super salad.
He came in there like resolute. He had his game face
He's
on.
like, dude, a salad's bad enough. A super salad?
Yeah, you get the little miso soup, man. It's gonna be all right.
He also, one time someone gave us a lamb leg. And so we're cooking leg of lamb.
All right.
And like all through dinner, he's hearing leg of lamb. And eventually he starts being like, "So what's going on at Legoland?"
Like, this is your son? God bless him.
Like, we're going to Legoland?
Oh, man.
Brad is premiering his second season of his YouTube shows, Local Legends and Making It.
Yeah.
Tell me the difference between the two if you're going to tell a viewer out there.
Yeah, I would love to.
So
So,
how does someone know which one they want to go watch?
well, you can watch both, knock yourself out. But so one of them, Local Legends, is more of like a travel show. It's not even necessarily a food focused show. It's more of like it's got more. I mean, we do some food oriented things, but it could be a gardener. It could be we've done a glass blowers. This lady Jeannie. You would love Jeannie.
Like bong glass blower?
I'm sure she could make them, but we made like I made a bowl and like a little platter that I keep my
that's cool.
onions in and stuff. Just like it was a school, and you could go in there. So like anything where it has a story, whether it's famous people or big or small. We were out in Ireland. We did this guy Paddy, total legend, and he trained sheepdogs. Running them all over the mountains and stuff. So we spent some time with him. We went to the Guinness factory. So again, stuff where it has a story, whether it's food related or just anything passionate. Just a human experience kind of thing.
Can I pitch you on one?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Why don't you go up and do one about John Hayes, the taxidermist?
I don't know if it's maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it's very.
You don't
I
need
hate to
answer.
sound
Just
like.
put it in the back of your head.
I thank you. Yeah, it's like, I'll put it in the book. And like, what's cool though is like I really like to be able to say, if we were to come out here and did a Local Legends with Steve Ranella, out in Montana, and we went and shot a pronghorn.
I'd be like, let's go to John's.
Well, whatever it is, like we would like. I love being able to show a little bit of the story too, like outside of just like the hunt. Like we'll go to your favorite bar, or like whatever the heck it is. Get like something like
wasabi then.
We'll go there. You know, I'll get the super salad, and and then like being able to, instead of cramming a cooking portion of it into it, I like to like when I can tune up next week for making it the other show. We'll take what we killed or harvested or caught or whatever, and then we'll be able to utilize it. Slow it down, change the scene, put it in a kitchen, and do just like a cooking show. And that's the show Making It, where we can that's very much more of a food show. I got guests, I bring it on the road, but it's mostly shot at my house, a little country studio I built.
But you weren't doing any of that when you recently got your butt tattooed.
Yeah, no.
You have a butt tattoo?
Yeah, you got a butt tattoo. You had your butt tattooed, Spencer?
I don't. No.
Is that next on the list?
It should be.
Just on this arm.
I'm not a big tattoo guy, but I think I now am. And I think I'm going to invent a new category of tattoo. Like instead of like arm sleeves or like whatever people, I'm just going to get my cheeks covered, just like cheek sleeves. Like everything else would be bare, but just
like a bathroom wall.
But my
just
butt cheeks are.
That's a great
My
idea,
butt cheeks
man.
are just going to be like Yakuza.
Yeah.
You know, like, just fucking.
It's funny. I had this conversation last night.
Yakuza cheeks.
I'm gonna go hard, just cheeks. I got one, but now I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna get up. Do you guys curse? Sorry.
No,
I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna try not to. The kids, I get
We
it.
used to a lot, but it's
trashy.
We've gotten more kid friendly. In
It is,
fact,
it's trashy.
We're going to talk about kids in a second here, and we're going to talk about our kids podcast coming up. So definitely don't be saying that on
I
that show.
love that.
It's going to cost us. I already lost a lot of listeners over my Christy Gnome.
You and me both.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of listeners.
Christy Gnome.
Well,
We don't have to go into it again.
Steve
but
just hates dogs.
no, I don't.
Dogs.
Love them like the good ones.
Hey, an asshole's an asshole. I'm sorry. Too. A jerk's a jerk. You know.
Yeah. Like if I had to pick between Cal's dog and some people, I'd be like, well, let's keep Cal's dog. It's for me, it's a total meritocracy. It has nothing to do with your species. It's like a meritocracy.
What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, so you got your wife's name on your buttocks.
Yeah, we were talking about my YouTube shows. I don't know how we got to this.
You were on a podcast with a tattoo artist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, what's his name? Scott Campbell, out in Los Angeles. Beautiful Los Angeles. And at the end of the podcast, he offers guests a tattoo, and I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't have to. I was feeling
free.
What was the value on it if you had to guess?
Oh my! I mean, Steve, it looks like a child did it.
How far down on your butt? Do you
want me to show you?
Like a tramp stamp or like way down on your butt?
No, it's like right like mid cheek, man. Right on the center.
Like the crest of the
right on the little
The
hump.
gluteal crest?
Right on the bump.
No,
of
the gluteal crease is your butt crack.
more on like what I'm
Do you know
sitting
that,
on.
Corinne?
You would say
I
like
was thinking
prime
of
advertising placement.
Big time.
crease
She got
between the
great
muscles.
placement.
Yeah.
No.
And Scott,
sorry.
at first he was like, you could cut, because I have one other tattoo and it's horrible and it's on my ankle and it's my initials.
No, that's
oddly.
what I laughed about for a long time. So can I
It's
tell
the
the story
worst.
real quick?
If we must.
That was like your
Brad-
high school tattoo.
Brad
right?
was on the
We
show
were-
before.
yeah, high school,
Brad was
yeah.
on the show before, and he's got his shorty pants on. And at some point in the interview, I noticed that he has
Shorty pants.
he has BL. At some point in the interview, I noticed he has BL tattooed on his leg. So I'm like, odd that you would have had your initials, Brad Leone, tattooed on your leg. He goes, oh no, that's not what that is. That stands for Berry Lake.
Yeah, it sure does. Bunch of folks got it.
He goes, you're not the first guy to assume that though.
Yeah, a lot of people make fun of me for it, but I'm now 39 years old and I've come to an acceptance. At first I was like, maybe I can get this guy to like cover up my ankle like scar there. And I was like, you know what? That's even worse. What's he gonna do? Make what are you gonna put? I don't want anything else.
Or he could make it say Berry Lake.
That's a good idea, Steve. I didn't think of that, Steve.
Clear up some
Turn
of
it
the
into a big
ambiguity.
carp.
Just fill it in a little.
Did you
Barry.
surprise your wife with the tattoo?
Yeah, I sent her a little butt picture on the cell phone, and I was expecting her to be a little more into it, a
for
little
sure.
more enthusiastic.
Oh.
And I got a real it felt real sarcastic. She was just like, "I'm a lucky lady."
Yeah, I think
I'm going to cross it out, to be honest.
I feel that is sarcastic.
Ungrateful.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she's really into it too. But yeah, I think I'm going to go full. I think I'm going to go full cheek, and it's just going to be a little fun fact about me. Let's get a little. You want to
Tell
get
your
one?
story. Just tell your story.
That's right.
We're gonna get on with the serious part of the show in a second here.
Yeah,
but I got
we
one last
should.
thing, one last conversation.
Oh gosh.
So I already told you how was my one boy's birthday last night.
Yeah. Happy birthday,
Well, my
bud.
daughter was in the school play, so we had a little family calendar collision. So we couldn't go to that performance, and so with some friends of ours went to the performance.
Oh, you didn't divide and
We're going
conquer?
tonight. We're going
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
So, but some friends went to the performance to then take her home.
Okay.
We come home and there's the friends and our daughter, and the friends are talking about a restaurant they like, and they're talking about a waiter, and they're talking about how the waiter was alerting them to a food that didn't taste good, so don't order it. And they observed he was all tatted out. And I said, these days, I don't know what that means anymore. At a time, it meant that you were like maybe you were like a biker, you were like a rebel. But I'm like, I don't know what all. There's probably librarians that are all tatted out.
Yeah, I
don't know. Like when they said that, and I said, "What?" When you say that, what image are you conjuring? And they go,
Neck
"Like, oh, I
tattoos.
honestly can't answer that." They said, "I feel like it's like a straight talker." I'm like, "You feel it's a straight talker?"
I don't think it gives any type of validation or credibility
just said it.
in any
You
category.
know, he's all tatted out. I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
I think it means they spent a lot of money.
It's like Spencer's arm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone said, like, "Yeah, Spencer, he's all tatted out," I'd be like, "Whoa, don't cross him."
Yeah, I saw the internet
Wait,
is.
what does that mean, Steve? I
The
wanna
internet's
dig into
declared that like if you had a sleeve, it used to mean that you were in like a biker gang, and now it means you can just make a really nice souffle.
Or like you lived in a trending part of a city and
Had
got some
disposable
money.
income.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one last question before we start the serious part of the show?
Hold on 1 second. Or if they're really faded, maybe like if you have that like heroin chic, then they can get a little sketchy. And like, if it's like an old timer tattooy, bikery, heroin,
I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna say to people, man, this guy was scary. I mean,
like
zero
Williamsburg,
tattoos.
Brooklyn, like
Zero
Brooklyn scary.
tattoos. That kind of guy.
Yeah.
It's like as if you hear that someone shot a dog that can't be trained. Most people would think, oh, uh-oh.
All tatted
But
out.
some people would think, I
Yep.
like the fire in her belly.
Yeah. If you said, oh yeah, she had a dog that was a danger to society and couldn't be trained, and she shot it, and listen, no tattoos.
Yeah.
Jeez,
That's
that's
messed
something
up.
people do. People shoot dogs if they can't train them.
On to the serious
Oh,
part
yeah.
of the show.
Yep.
That's the thing here's the reason I got riled up about it, for one, is here's the thing. If that
Here it
makes
goes.
you disqualified for American politics,
What, shooting a dog?
you have lost, I'm guessing, you have lost all the people that I think should be in American politics. Or you've lost, if that sort of thing, you have lost all the people that I think should be involved in American politics.
What about that? The person volunteered it, like in a book. Isn't that? I feel like.
Spencer, I could tell you some things.
Wait, I'm just confused.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. You'd be
Listen,
like-
when let me tell you something. When my
We're
dad
talking-
was, when my dad was a kid, you know what happened to him?
no.
You think it's like, listen, when my dad was a kid,
he had to kill his own dog.
he had to take.
Wasn't even
So
sick
listen,
or
all
nothing.
you sensitive people out
Listen,
there,
great. He had to shoot it.
turn the radio
Not
off.
even about.
Did he use a gun?
turn-
Jesus Christ. Is this incriminating?
They
Steve?
made him go down and drown his own bag of dogs.
Bag of dogs? What are you, a goddamn serial killer?
He got a
Steve?
bag of dogs for Christmas.
Red
Okay.
flag. Red flags.
Listen, and you tell me my dad shouldn't be vice president?
Yes, yes. Oh, no, 1,000%. The people that made him do
Voice
that.
of reason,
And if he wrote an
Bradley
autobiography, it would absolutely be in there because he told me that story 10 times.
Was he a 35-year-old pheasant hunting outfitter owner?
No, he was
Oh.
born in the Great Depression.
Okay, yeah, it's a little different.
It's heavy.
Listen, but I can tell you some things that would way ass disqualify me from politics, and I haven't ruled that out.
Okay,
And when
I'd
I
vote
do,
for you.
But here's the thing. Then we're gonna get on with the show. I got one last thing to tell you.
Sorry, Jordan.
The bag of dogs. That's a
Well,
mental
let me
image.
tell you something. If I ever run for elected office,
I'd vote for you.
Here's the first move I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write down.
Don't say kill dogs.
No, I'm gonna write down every bad thing I ever did. You remember, like with Obama,
Don't do that. I'm your lawyer. I'm gonna
Obama
represent
was
you. Don't do
accused
that.
of trying to oversell his cocaine use. Like he's like, yeah, I did some blow, and people are like, he didn't do shit for blow, and it was like he got accused of like trying to like overdo it because
Got to get out in front of it.
because Clinton tried to underdo it. So he's like, well, I'm gonna get out ahead of it, and then people accuse him of like overselling his drug use. I would make a list of every single bad thing I ever did.
Don't do that.
And on the day I announce my candidacy, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna start with this list.
This little Google Doc.
There's no reason. Yeah, it's like there's no reason. Like here. With that said, I'm launching my campaign, and it's gonna have stuff about you don't even want to hear about cats,
No.
stray cats, feral cats,
No, don't.
and it's and then I'm gonna plow ahead.
It might really work out for you. A little honesty would be refreshing in our political atmosphere.
Be a good day.
Cal will tell you about how bad feral cats are.
Yeah, I think they're a problem, right? Little kill machines.
7 million. Is that
Exactly.
how many are out there, Cal?
Oh, how many feral cats? I don't know that.
I heard an estimate of 7 million.
Killing all the
Probably more
birds.
than
Oh,
that.
yeah, but we're talking billions of small mammals, songbirds.
Big time.
Australia's embroiled in all that right now.
Yeah, and Australia, I feel like, is like
Shoot on sight.
the.
Yeah, they're not going to have any people left to be in politics. They're going to have to bring politics in from.
I love
They're
your
going to have to bring
enthusiasm.
politicians in from California.
That's going to be a problem. That's going to cause problems.
Okay, now we're getting on to the serious part of our show, and we're gonna move over to our child safety and wellness desk, and we're joined remotely from Texas, from the Republic of Texas, by our very own Jordan Sillers. Jordan writes a lot of website content for us. He covers culture, current events, guns, all kinds of outdoor stuff.
Yep.
And he's got a new piece out called "These Florida Men Are Wrong." From the top. These Florida men are what's wrong with America, in which he discusses this thing going on right now where these kids fishing HOA ponds getting accosted by men who don't like to see kids fishing HOA ponds. He'll do a better job of explaining it. Jordan also works with Cal on Cal's Week in Review. So if you're a Cal's Week in Review fan and you like your weekly conservation news roundup, you can thank Jordan for his contributions there. Jordan, take it away.
Sure. So 2 stories within a very short span of time, both involving Florida men. So the Florida man meme here is in full effect. The first one happened actually back in April, and it involved an HOA president. So that's, right on brand there. An HOA president took a gun and chased 3 kids away from the kind of neighborhood pond. A 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old were all fishing. Yep, and they ran away so fast, apparently, that they left all of their fishing tackle there.
Do you think they ran away fast because of the gun, or just the fact that he's a 50-whatever-year-old adult?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd send Christy no more to that pond.
I say good for them, to be honest. My God, this guy sounds like a real problem.
Okay, so what?
So then he took their fishing stuff, and according to the local news reports, he threw it in the woods. So he took their fishing poles, tackle box, all that stuff, and he chucked it in the woods. He also
of a 7-year-old kid.
Yep. He also allegedly stole one of their phones, which has not been recovered. And so he was arrested a short time later, and he was charged with something called criminal mischief, which I looked it up, is basically when you break someone's stuff, is criminal mischief, and then also grand theft.
I feel like criminal mischief is like when someone did something bad, but you can't really put your finger on it.
What about threatening?
It's like
Tripping over a porta potty.
What about threatening the life of minors? I mean, that sounds kind of attempted murder, for God's sake. I'd be pissed. I don't know about attempted murder, but I'd be pissed if some guy was chasing my kids down the grass with a gun and he got in trouble for breaking fishing poles. I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I'd do like domestic terrorism.
I'll take it.
So in Florida, it is a crime. It's like brandishing a firearm or something, right? That is a crime. He wasn't charged with that. I don't know why. I don't know whether he just kind of threatened them. You know, it was in a holster and he just kind of showed it to them, or whether he actually took it out. It's a little unclear what exactly happened with that.
The implication being, if you kids don't stop fishing, I am going to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's exactly what
I mean, I think that's
pretty
as
much
serious as it is. I think you nailed it.
That wouldn't be an unreasonable interpretation.
No.
Yeah.
Does this guy have a history
so-
of being like a hothead in the community, or did he stink like vodka?
So I actually read, I read a subsequent report that said he's a lawyer. So he's a lawyer, HOA president. I don't know if he has any kind of history of this, but
Sounds like mental illness. I mean, it's actually quite sad and scary.
If they gave him that, we were talking about this yesterday during they used to use for psychiatric stuff. They'd give you like sodium.
Oh, barbital.
To kind of like loosen you up, get you talking. He'd be like, "My dad never took me fishing."
Maybe. Who knows? He sounds like he's definitely bit of a liability.
Can we figure out where this guy was in his
Florida.
legal class? Like how? Like where was he? Like did he got a degree but somehow couldn't interpret the law to know that this is a bad situation?
People that lose the bar in like 4 other states go to Florida.
Oh,
All right, Florida's like its own country, guys. I don't know if
he's gonna get disbarred now, probably.
This guy's not even crazy. He was just very committed to the Florida Man bit. Like Florida Man hadn't been in the news for a while, and he's like, this could get us back on top.
Is there a picture? Does he look squared away, or does he look like he's like smoking bath salts?
He doesn't look good in his police mugshot.
He does not look good. He looks very angry.
No, that guy does not look good.
Well, because at that point, by the time you got your mug shot,
Steve, look at this guy.
Reality is setting in.
By the time you got your mug shot, he's not. Yeah, but he's not looking like that because he's mad about those kids. He's looking like that because he's mad that he did what he did.
He's pissed he didn't shoot.
Well, he got caught.
He's got a real furrowed brow.
Yeah, by the time your mug shot gets taken, you're like wishing you had played your cards different, man.
I don't know what's going.
It's not like righteous indignation.
This guy was born an antagonist. Like that's not. That's just not a friendly fellow.
I don't. It's hard to say.
I don't see a face of regret there, Steve.
like Trump had the wherewithal to like rehearse his mugshot. Like he thought about it and he knew what to do. That guy did not rehearse his mugshot.
He's so
like Trump's like, you're gonna really? Okay, I'm gonna give you a mugshot that's gonna make newspapers around the world.
That guy's not a lawyer. No one's hiring him to do anything.
Okay, go on, Jordan.
Yeah,
it's working. It's working. You're getting we're getting fired up.
Yeah, right. That's the idea. So I have more. So just a few weeks later, another story came out. Similar situation. 2 kids. I think they're both teenagers. They were fishing another subdivision lake, and as they're leaving, this guy walks up to them, walking his dog, and he pulls out a pocket knife and starts chasing them. And one of the kids pulls out his phone, of course, and starts filming this interaction with this guy chasing them away with his pocket knife. He's yelling at them that they're trespassing, and he doesn't want them there. And you can watch the video. It's linked there in the news story.
Obviously, a big difference in the cardio situation if you can film the person chasing you.
The kid was not. Yeah, the kid was not worried. He was not worried, and there was a funny moment. Apparently, this guy ran past, like as he was chasing the kids, he ran past his mailbox, and he stops at his mailbox, according to this kid, and checks his mail. Closes the box and then keeps chasing the kids.
Really?
And
he's not that committed to it.
He's not. But what's interesting is that the kids noted the mailbox number, and then obviously they had the video, and they gave all of that to the police. And then he was arrested later, and I don't think charges have been announced yet for the other Florida man.
Holy cow!
There's if you imagine that there's a You know those old cartoons where you got like a devil and an angel on your shoulders? He's got like the scales of justice, okay, on his like in his brain. And he sees kids fishing and he's sort of like, they're trespassing, okay, and that does whatever. And then on the other side of the scale is like, well, they're just fishing, which is cool. Because all we hear about is how bad kids are and they don't do nothing but bad stuff anymore. So it's like, you gotta go like, well, I give them a lot for fishing, but it doesn't outweigh the trespassing. I would completely forget the trespassing part. Right? It wouldn't be, I'd be like, I would think nothing but, oh, that's cool. It's kids are fishing.
I mean, clearly this guy's not well.
Yeah. No. Again.
Fishing really riles people
I think the
up.
big red flag for me is that he stopped to check the mailbox. That just tells you he's not operating on a level plane.
Well, and he's wearing jorts. So again, he was very
what does that
committed to the Florida
Jean
man
shorts.
bit. How many?
Oh, now I feel bad for him.
How many pairs of jorts do you own, Brad?
I own
Are they
one
frayed
pair.
on the end?
Oh yeah, they're frayed on the end.
So they're
These
cut off.
these are
Listen, man, I don't know what's
self-made
going on with
jorts.
that guy. Maybe he got in a fight with his wife or something. I don't know. I didn't
Brad,
know he's
what-
wearing jean shorts.
What are your
No, I
use for
feel
your?
totally
Why
like
do
now I'm, in,
jorts
that
mean-
guy-
now I'm on
that
his
guy,
side.
that guy does not have a wife, Steve.
I'm on
And if
his
he
side
did, she
now.
left a long time ago.
What's he thinking's in the mailbox?
This guy looks insane,
He's like
guys.
the
What are you
short-
talking
He's
about?
like he's checking for the shorts he ordered.
If there's like a history of
Mental
people
illness?
coming in and fishing and leaving trash all over the place, or like taking the carp that they're catching and chucking them up on the bank so they stink.
Yeah,
Like-
you're doing like there's more to this. There's always two sides of the
Need the
story.
back-
That
Backstory.
warrants a talking
Yeah.
to.
Need a little context here.
So one thing to note is that the kid in the second story who was chased by the guy with the knife, he admitted, he told the local reporter, he said, yeah, we've been there before. They told us to leave and we went back. Right. So, and it's unclear about the first story, whether those kids had been there before. But, you know, obviously it doesn't justify this reaction, but I do think in both stories, there's probably a little bit more here that has not been reported yet.
If I was the emperor of the world, or just the country,
Oh, boy.
I would have it be that all waters are open to anglers 16 and under
I like that.
by edict.
Well, what's edict?
All waters are open to anglers 16 and under. I would just like declare that to be the case.
What's edict?
An edict is when you declare something to be the case.
Okay.
I'd have a sick fake ID.
Or maybe I'd lower it. I don't know, 15 and under. What would it be? 15 and under.
I'd give him a shot. Like,
Pre-driving. Because you know what? You don't
Yeah,
want a kid
yeah.
driving. You
Public
can't like
transit.
drive over
Going
the
on
HOA.
tour.
That
That's
just
different.
looks different. So
Yeah.
bicycle mounted
If you
or
get there-
pedestrian anglers not getting dropped off by their mom. Bicycle or pedestrian anglers 15 and under, all waters are open to them.
50 miles from your home.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
within,
'cause you can't like go far
I
away.
think
we're
within
fleshing
biking
this out.
distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to do
I'll figure. I'll draft the language.
we used to do a deal where we got dropped off and said we were fishing the creek, and then we hiked down the creek to fish a lake that we weren't, or a pond that we weren't supposed to be fishing at.
Love
But we
that.
did that after dark,
Heck yeah.
and we just, I mean, it was amazing topwater bass fishing.
Yeah.
So we did that a lot. But
When
if I got threatened every time I was illicitly fishing
Yeah.
as a young man, I wouldn't have as many great fishing stories.
When we were kids, it was our concept of public land meant that you hadn't been yelled at there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like once you got yelled at, it sort of became in our head that was like not public.
And I don't mind a little razzle, you know, the guy coming, the crazy Joe coming out. But you gotta leave. It builds character for kids. But you gotta leave the knives and guns at home, guys.
Oh,
All right, leave
plus
the
it's
weapons
just
at
like-
home. Pick up a stick and chase the kids. You know, that's okay. Don't hit them, but you know,
Tell me the harm. You know, it's like,
everyone had a crazy Joe in their neighborhood.
oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I was a
ours was
little-
named Mrs. Angelo. But
Yeah.
Mrs. like the problem with Miss Angelo
She's a
down
legend.
the beach from us, she thought she owned something that she absolutely did not own.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Our lake, Middle Lake, was joined to, there's a channel that led from our lake to West Lake. And the channel was like a public waterway.
All right.
She thought, because she bordered the channel, she thought that the channel was her yard.
Hell yeah, it was.
And there was no like parents would say, you just have to ignore her. But
Love
no one
that.
ever went and talked to her. So anytime you went through the channel, you just had to listen to Miss Angelo scream at you. And we're like advised, like, you're fine.
Don't engage.
She thinks she owns it. Do what you need to do, but just, right? And you spent your entire childhood with Miss Angelo yelling at you in the channel, and you just would try to look the other way.
All she did was yell. She never got to like throw
She
in
wouldn't even get
weights?
off her porch.
Oh, let her go.
Yeah, she'd yell at you from the porch.
She's
You're
a-
trespassing. You're
she's
trespassing. You'd be like, oh,
adorable.
Well,
You
this
should've-
is Angelo.
Just
You should have
recently,
stopped and talked to her. Brought a little picnic.
we were fishing dock lights in Florida, public water, public everything, and we're old now, right? And it's Ed Anderson and myself, and we're out on his like hurricane scrap boat that he found and is awesome. Calls it the Matt Mache, and we are fishing dock lights at like midnight, and sure enough, here's this voice from the darkness of this old dude sitting there in the dark, just waiting for somebody to fish his dock light.
Hell yeah.
You know, and he's like, "What? What are you guys doing?"
Love it.
Oh, fishing.
Not here.
Okay, but you break that dock light, I'm gonna come after you.
He's sick and tired
You
of
know,
it.
and I'm like, "Sir, we're fishing with flies, and that dock light's like 15 feet under the water." Somebody broke it last week. I'm like, nope, that
Could have been you.
didn't happen. Thanks.
Who was the Barry Lake crazy growing up?
Well, the one right off the head, the first one I think of was the cat lady. I don't know what her name was. We just called her the cat lady.
Had a lot of cats.
Oh,
Was she a hoarder?
oh, and they went underground. They had like in the woods. They had like little caverns, and they lived in there, and they reproduced. She had a feral population.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know why those people go nuts?
Probably because of us.
No, they have
That disease.
toxoplasmosis.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were probably in the house. She
Yeah.
probably.
So you have all those cats, you pick up toxoplasmosis,
Huffing
and
cat
that's
poop.
where you get crazy cat ladies from.
the cat lady. And then there was this one guy. I don't know his name, but just his house. And when we would walk down to this one frog pond, he would always get, and that like he had the best access to get there. Everywhere else, it got a little wet and it was a little sketchy, or just like had fences. He had a real easy, clean shot, but like he didn't want kids walking through his yard like at all. So we would sneak up to like the property line, and then sometimes he'd catch us and be yelling, I gotta go. And we'd just keep going fucking.
Well, that's what we just used to do. We never like fished in people on their property, but we used to just cut through yards all the time.
Yeah,
And
big
you'd run
yards.
right
Sure.
down the property line. So if that person came out, you'd say you're going through this yard. If that person came out, you're going through the other yard.
I used to sneak in at high water, and because I had public fishing all around me growing up in Montana, but at high water, when all that stuff's blown out, I would go into this retirement community and fish their ponds that were fed, mind you, irrigation water fed their trout ponds. And, you know, it's like trout ponds aren't that much fun, but it's just something to do. Retirement community. Never, ever, ever saw anyone live there fish any of that stuff.
No, never will.
And it'd last about 25 minutes was probably like the most fishing I ever got in.
Before someone kicked you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
and
just
it was,
couldn't stand.
Well, you
the
didn't
effort.
fit in.
it'd be like an old lady in a house coat being like, "Oh, you can't fish there."
It's the damn
I'm like,
lawyers,
why?
Callahan.
Why?
The lawyers.
Jordan, do you have more to add?
No, just as we're kind of going through stories here, in the piece I talked about a good experience that I had, kind of in contrast to all of these bad ones. I took my kids out. You know, it's hard when they're little, right? Finding a place to fish because it has to be really easy to get to. And I had been recommended this golf course kind of subdivision lake by another fisherman here. And we went on a day that the golf course was closed, so we knew no one would be there. But still, you know, sure enough, here comes a golf cart, and it's a security guard. And you know, my kids at the time were like 5 and 6, right? And they're super cute. So you know, he's super nice. He's no, they are objectively. Anyone would say so. Anyone would say so. I'll send you a picture. So but instead of saying, getting angry or saying we have to leave, he actually lets us stay. He says you can stay and fish for 30 more minutes, catch more fish, and then you have to leave. And you probably shouldn't come back.
Wow, it gave you like a third. It gave you a third. It's like how you deal with kids. You're like, in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Did he have to say, sir, the one hiding behind the two cute children, the 5 and 6 year old? Could you look at me, please?
Yeah.
The golf courses.
Yeah.
Gave you 30 minutes.
Gave us 30 minutes.
That's
and
a
it was
dude
great
that
too, 'cause-
that's a dude that's being sent to do a job
Yes.
he doesn't feel is right to do.
1,000%. And it's all insurance, liability, lawyer, language.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably just don't, they don't want the place overrun. But it was great for my kids because they got to catch fish and they got to see dad get in trouble.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of a win-win.
Yeah, and with kids, you're like, that's great because that's probably all the longer we're going to fish for anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Jordan, you should have been like, yeah, I totally get it. Anybody duck hunt here?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Maybe I'll somehow afford one of those homes and then they'll let me do that. We'll see.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Jordan.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Just to pile in here, Jordan does an awesome amount of research and writing, busts out amazing articles at themeateater.com, and man, kicks butt on Cal's Week in Review.
A flurry of articles. This one being, These Florida Men Are What's Wrong with America. Check it out at themeateater.com. Thank you, Jordan. Come back anytime you want to talk about an article, man.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Take it easy. Speaking of kids, we have a kids. We're working on a kids podcast, and the whole thing depends on this. How many we do and how long it runs depends on if people will appreciate the thing or not. So we're gonna do. What are we gonna do? 5? We're making 5.
5 starting July 4th.
Starting July 4. Kids are off. Off on vacation break. We're gonna do 5. We gotta see if people appreciate it or not. So it's a kids podcast, and it runs like this. It'll go. It's a kids podcast in 3 acts. Act 1 is kind of like a biology or history lesson. For instance, for one of them, we did kind of a kids version of how teddy bears came to be teddy bears, but not totally kidded up. Like it involves, like it touches on slavery in America. Presidential politics, right? I think we allude to the Civil War. Okay. So it's kiddie but complex. Another one we do on the difference between diurnal, nocturnal, and crepuscular. Okay. But in language a kid can understand. I've been talking to kids for 14 years. So I do that part because I every day I have to explain something to kids. Like, why can't I have that back? I'm like, because you did wrong. So I explain it to kids how I'd explain something to my kids. Act 2 is a name that animal call. So we find animals that have like pretty big vocabularies of varying intensities and noises, and we'll start playing a noise. We'll play one of their vocalizations, and then we'll start giving clues, and we keep playing vocalizations. And if we're kind of focused on the male vocalization, maybe here's the female vocalization. And we keep giving clues and it builds up to the reveal. And then you learn more about the animal. Act 3 is kids trivia, where a bunch of kids come in and play trivia. But nowadays, there's, as everyone knows who goes to soccer, there's no winners and no losers. So in keeping with in keeping with the decline of American competitiveness, we've made it that the kids aren't playing against one another. They're playing to collectively build up a pot of money for conservation. Because we've had a problem. We got little kids and older kids. So the little kids would get smoked. And then they're crying, So
maybe
we had
it's what they call that learning lessons. What they need, Steve.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you get an 8-year-old and a 14-year-old,
right?
Like who's gonna win? It's like with Brody being like, right?
Yeah. Well, you might be surprised.
So I want that part in the podcast where you read the scores and then you look into their little hearts and you say, And you haven't
And in
got a
last
point.
place.
And in last place.
You're out of contention.
And they're not just any kids. They're the offspring of Steve, Yanni, Brody.
Brody,
Yeah, they're the ones playing trivia with us.
So the kids play, and they're building up a pot of money. So there's a trivia question, and for every right answer, every right answer kicks in $10 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's 10 kids playing, and 10 kids get the answer right, they just earned $100 for the pot of money. And it's how much can they build up the pot of money?
And that's a conservation donation at the end of the show.
To an organization that has a kids program or kids affiliation. Okay. And that's the kids show. We're making 5, and we're going to put them on this feed. So if you're like looking through and you see the kids show pop up and you don't have kids, just ignore it. And then we'll make a determination down the road if people like it and appreciate it for family listening. We'll create it'll have its own little universe where it'll live.
I don't have kids. I loved it. I think it's one of the best audio products we've made. And Phil the engineer really got to flex all of his Phil the engineer muscles on
what?
this show. There's all kinds of sound effects. He sings a little jingle for it.
I haven't heard, Phil, how come I haven't heard any of this?
It's not finalized yet, Steve. You know, I'm
We're
just
working on
dotting
it
the
all.
i's.
But Phil makes it.
I like to think that it
Jingles.
won't be finalized yet either when I listen.
Right.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. we've got time for 7 rounds of drafts.
There's a thing that happens here is people will do like, hey, check this out. Let me know what you think. But like, if it's not okay,
It's too late. to
it'll be
change.
3 years till we can launch it. Just so you know, it'll we'll never be able to launch it if it's not okay. But have a listen. Let me know. What do you think?
July 4th and every Thursday after for 4 more weeks.
We had a lot of corrections on we had clarifications and corrections on 2 things of interest, and we had a etiquette question from a guy who realized one day he didn't give his name, but he's like, "Hey, what gives? I now have resident hunting licenses in 2 states," and we pointed out, "Man, you can't have resident hunting licenses in 2 states. I would figure out which state you're actually a resident of and get rid of your other resident license, and probably go down and clarify that you're turning it in." So that someone doesn't do a little dragnet and catch you. You know that book I was talking about that had the muskrats?
Yeah.
One time they go into Fort Yukon, like there had never been law enforcement in Fort Yukon, and they haul the entire town to Fairbanks because everyone is either being prosecuted for something or subpoenaed as a witness.
Jeez.
I mean, they're like, all right, everybody come with us.
It's aggressive.
Okay. It gets a little complicated. I'm just going to try to dispatch this subject. There are situations where you can have a resident license in 2 states, but it has to do with that you're in the military or you're a student. So some states, if you're a student or if you're stationed, okay, like if you're in the military and you're let's say you're at Fort Richardson in Alaska, you can have resident hunting privileges. But that you hold the license, right? You hold a discounted license or whatever, but it's not the same as having a resident license. Like you're being given resident status in that way for that period of time. Okay. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah.
So there are caveats to be like, well, it's not always wrong. Then we went to Adam Pancratz, who's been on the show. Adam Pancratz had this. So Adam Pancratz is a game warden here in Montana, and he's a great warden and a great representative of the state of Montana, in my view, because he takes time, and I'm not singling him out as like exceptional. It's just I happen to know him, and I'm sure this is true of many, many, many game wardens.
He's been on the podcast.
Yeah, he
before.
takes time where if you come to him with a like, hey man, I've read this 10 times and I can't make sense out of it. Like, how should I do this? And he'll walk you through how to understand. He'll take the time to walk you through how to understand I don't know, aspects of the legal code or legal structure that might be confusing. He says there are a handful of discounts you can receive on non-resident licenses to include military deployment, college enrollment, etc. But you can only legally hold resident licenses in one state. The public often thinks the discounts equal residency. They don't. The only place I have seen legal possession of resident licenses in 2 states is some states that offer lifetime licenses for things like fishing, which, depending on the state, you may be able to keep even if you move. So a caveat-rich discussion.
Yeah.
But the guy that wrote in that started this whole thing was not laying out that situation. He was, hey, I moved and never turned in my old driver's license, which is an old trick.
Yeah.
Then you go to the new state, you're like, I lost my driver's license.
Well,
and they give you a new one.
Yeah.
And then secretly you have your old one. And then you go back to your old state, present the driver's license, and buy your resident license again because they haven't figured out that you're not a resident anymore, which is the situation he was laying out.
And typically when you buy a resident license, you're signing a piece of paper that says, I do
Declare.
I do not declare residency in any other state for, at least I know that's how it is in Montana. So
Yeah, I think in every state.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what,
I have a lifetime license in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And this part doesn't fall into this, is an outlier to the original question.
Okay.
Because it's a lifetime license. You can take that lifetime license with you, but if you're no longer a resident in the state of Idaho, you pay non-resident prices for tax, right? So,
Yeah, I would get rid of that program because here's what's going to happen. The only people that are going to buy those who are young are people that are moving out of state.
yes.
I would love to go track purchases of lifetime licenses, and I bet they all are like, you load your stuff up, you fill your tank up with gas, you're in the U-Haul, and the last thing you do is stop in and buy a lifetime hunting license.
Yes. So that's the conversation that I had with Idaho Fish and Game. I came out of the Frank Church, went to the salmon field office, knew I was moving back home to Montana, and they said, "Oh, lifetime license. Are you moving?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And they said, "Great."
Yeah, it's like hate the game, not the player.
Yes,
Yeah.
but at that point in time, too, the meaning of a lifetime license in Idaho does not mean what it means now. Now, it's a quite valuable thing to have.
Got it.
At the time, it was literally, it was more of a donation to Fish and Game
Yep.
than any sort of scheme.
And they subsequently they sweetened the pot.
They
so to
did
speak.
sweeten the pot big time. Yep.
Hate the game, not the player. When
You came up with that, didn't
there
you?
was 2 years. There was 2 years, and this is Cal's favorite subject, which I like to bring up every episode. There were 2 years when I could buy my kids.
Oh, yeah.
One of whom was 0 years old. I could buy my kids bonus points, which just seemed to melt Cal's head.
Yeah. Yep.
Him not having.
He's not making eye contact with you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And then they quickly got rid of that program.
Yeah.
Yeah, justice.
No, it felt dirty. It felt dirty when I was doing it, but I couldn't help myself.
Right. It's available.
This one titillated the piss out of everybody.
It did.
We were talking about, and we're going to follow up. So if people were listening to the episode, we were talking about the controversy rich field of musky records, which I when I waded into it, I had no idea that it was like a thing. There's books written about. This is not a joke. There are books written about where people sort of go back to musky records and argue about was it valid. Part of it being there's an ichthyologist who's he's looked every which way at muskies, and his thing is that a muskie is physically incapable of achieving 70 pounds. It's not going to happen, right? So people go in there like, oh, that record from 1920, probably, whatever. And they dissect all this stuff. And it's a real thing. So we were covering a guy who was claiming to have what would have been the world record muskie by a lot. It might have been 10 pounds or something, like this exceptional fish. And he had weighed it with a non-certified scale on a boat. In the IGFA, International Game Fish?
Yeah.
International Game Fishing Association. The IGFA lays out all the rules for record fish, meaning a record fish doesn't mean it's the biggest fish ever. It means it's the biggest fish, an IGFA record isn't just the biggest fish that washed up dead on the beach. It's the biggest fish caught by an angler fishing under the rules and guidelines of the IGFA, meaning Frank Mundus, Monster Man Frank Mundus, harpooned a great white that was much bigger than a great white that he caught on rod and reel and tried to register with the IGFA. But he harpooned it, and so the IGFA doesn't count it. Just like the biggest buck, I think the biggest buck ever, like the biggest non-typical buck ever, was found laying dead. Is hole in the horn still the biggest non-typical?
Well, that's actually in the record book. Like
I'm saying, but it's not.
But they do it differently.
Yeah, they like throw it into a different pile. So a big deadhead. Well, put it this way:
sheds too, right?
The biggest bighorn, like the biggest bighorn, the biggest Rocky Mountain bighorn on record was a deadhead. The biggest Rocky Mountain bighorn on record was not harvested by a hunter. So it's just different. But to get it be that you caught the record muskie, there's a bunch of rules, one of which is you cannot weigh the muskie on a boat. And I was saying that's a high-level physics question, and people were like, that's a low-level physics question.
So many people wrote
A lot of people had a lot of
everybody.
things. And I also said something that I don't understand enough to know that it's not true. But my understanding of a way to define something that floats is if like a boat, okay, weighs less than the amount of water it displaces, it will float. Or if an object weighs less than the amount of water it displaces, it'll float. And people are like, that ain't right. And they had all kinds of ways in which that ain't right. But the biggest thing people are saying, like I've read a good number of these because it's kind of funny to read them. The biggest thing that someone brought up is the reason you can't weigh something on a boat is because you're weighing something on a non-stable platform. And we had a really vivid explanation of how this is true. And it's from a service member. He says in 2014, now I had to read this about 30 times to understand this sentence. In 2000, not that he's a poor writer, it's just something I wasn't familiar with. In 2014, I was doing gator squares off the coast of Yemen aboard the USS Boxer. I thought that meant he was doing some kind of alligator research off the coast of Yemen aboard the USS Boxer, because most of our mail that we get in would be like I was doing X to an alligator and this happened. I got bit, whatever. But he was extra. Okay. So he's aboard the USS Boxer off the coast of Yemen. And in rolling seas, so he's on the vessels, he's working on the vessel's gym. He says in rolling seas, you could scan the gym and witness the collective struggle of an entire platoon of Marines as the weight they thought they were lifting suddenly felt crushing. And the only hope was to hold isometric form until the swell passed and the weight was movable again. He says, I've seen weights slip off one side of the bar, turning the bar into a javelin hurling across the room. I've seen guys time their lifts to set personal records, knowing the seas were doing the heavy lifting. And I had a friend who was lifting a very reasonable set of dumbbells rip a pectoral muscle so thoroughly when the ship hit a swell that it rolled up into his shoulder and he had to be flown home.
Oof.
You can debate, he goes on to say, this is Jake. Jake says, you can debate the rationale for a dry land scale requirement all you want, but I know one dude with a big scar you're never going to convince.
Yeah. Yikes.
Did he convince you?
That convinces me. Now I understand why. And he's talking about a naval vessel with a gym on board. And I'm talking some dudes in a rowboat. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, just watch. I guess you just hold up and watch. Be like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're like, who's 60 pounds? No, give me a second. Whoa, there he is. Now he's 70. All right. Man, Corinne, you put a lot of these in here.
Those are
You
great.
can tell when
though.
Corinne likes something.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's got drawings in here. She's got like diagrams.
No, I
people
thought
sent
we
in
should
here.
make like people did some
And they're like,
diagrams that should be made into a t-shirt.
Yeah,
kinda
like that turkey
Yeah,
shirt we had
exactly.
about. We made a shirt one time, Brad. You see some of these formulas?
Yeah.
It was if you get within 70 yards of a roosted turkey.
70 yards?
So he's in his roost tree.
Okay.
If you're within
In the
70
morning,
yards of
or-
that roosted turkey and you don't do anything, don't call, don't do nothing. What are the odds he's going to walk within 30 yards of you?
I'm guessing good, depending on where you're.
13%.
13. I
Which
guess
is
he can
better
go
than
any
which is better
direction.
than what happens when you call.
Yeah, I don't know. 70 yards is pretty. Yeah, I guess it depends.
Maybe I'm messing it up, but it was about that. You had about that. It's not better than when you call, but it's just meaning that a strategy would be that if you had 10 mornings to hunt and you could always slip within 70 yards of a turkey tree, he's going to come.
Just leave your calls at home.
Yeah, he's going to come.
Well, do you find they tend to come down in a little bit of a pattern? If you can watch them for a couple of days, if you do a little homework.
They come in a pattern of that they go exactly the opposite of where you're at.
Not every time. I
No,
mean,
not
I don't
every
know.
time.
They play the book sometimes, man.
Not every time, but it sometimes is uncanny.
Yeah, turkey hunting.
Sometimes it's like, man, it sure seems like he went just exactly opposite. Not that he came in on an angle, like he went like,
oh yeah,
like away.
I had a good.
Not every time. Sometimes they land like. Sometimes it scares you. They land in your face.
I had a wonderful opening season turkey just a few weeks ago.
Came off the roost.
Yeah, but they were not exactly where we thought they roosted. My buddy said he saw them go up, but they must have. He thought they were going to be right here, but they ended up moving a bit. And he didn't watch them get up in the tree, but he thought they were going to hang right there. They turned out to be on the other side of the field. So we had our little decoys out. We were behind a rock wall, little tree line, and an open field in front of us. And those birds are up there. And then, as the first light started to come up, we had some coyotes that were checking out our decoys. And they've been around. I found a dead bird all coyoted up.
You're talking about coyotes.
Coyotes. And they, what would I say?
Coyotes.
Yeah, well, and what are you talking about? And they've been watching the birds. I feel like so. I thought like we were in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You see him. The one day I was just scouting and I saw the coyote. He sat about 50 yards under the tree where they're all roosting in the morning. And he just sat like a dog and just looked up.
You're kidding me. Just see if he gets lucky.
Just wait and maybe they'll come fly. And he just
one's
didn't
gonna
move.
fly right in my mouth.
And then there was a
No
dead
kidding,
one.
really?
So I think he
What a move, man.
So yeah, so he eventually, but then luckily when we were hunting, they kind of they disappeared for a little bit, and the birds. I thought we were kind of screwed. The birds were just going to be squirrely. They sat up a little later than they usually do, but then those coyotes came back, and the one he got real low, and he came and whapped at my came running at my decoy.
Mm-hmm.
So we were thinking the hunt's kind of over.
Sure,
Yeah. Then eventually the birds start filtering down. They're about 300 yards away, maybe about 300 to 400 yards away. And they also about 15 birds, a couple real big toms, a couple hens, a few jakes, and they start filtering. And they're sitting there, just butterballing around, and then
doing a little dance.
Oh yeah,
I could get up and do that dance. If I
just
felt
doing
like
their
it.
little thing, real cool, just like this guy over here, exactly. And then all of a sudden, like a string, I'm like, my buddy, I was with my buddy Vin. I'm like, Vin, they're yeah. I'm like, Vin, they're coming. Right. And he's like, yeah. So they just walk in a straight line right across this field. And then, and the hens were moving pretty quick. They wanted to get the hell, they were going for the tree line.
Yeah.
And they did that. And these butterballs all followed them. And then eventually they got to this little corner of where the trees and the rock wall meet. And the hens jump over and the jakes jump over. And there was 5 toms, and they just sat there right at the rock wall waiting. And they could see our
Because they didn't want to drop out a strut.
and they saw our decoy now. And I have one big strut decoy there, and it was pissing them off, right? So they just started doing this weird little turkey circle thing,
Sure.
And then eventually
I could get up and do it right now.
and then we're like, yeah, and then they're like, and then
Steve,
they
shit.
and then they started coming towards the decoys. So we were behind the rock wall, and the decoys are on the other side of the rock wall, about 20 yards in front of us. And about 20, 30 minutes it took them. They ended up getting down. They came and just beat the shit out of the decoy, and then we both just popped up, and I didn't even, boom, I shot my big old red head. He fell over, and I go, Vin, shoot. And he goes, no. I'm like, they're still there. They didn't know what the hell happened. There was a pile of birds still. I go, Vin, what are you doing? Shoot. He goes, no, I'm not shooting again. I'm like, we shot at the exact same time that I didn't even hear him shoot, but he had a second bird just laying there flopping around. And he thought I was telling him to shoot again. He thought I was going Carl on him. Yeah. And he's like, no, we got 2, man. We don't need to kill anymore. And then it was just it was like a beautiful morning.
Steve, you'd appreciate this. Brad's alter ego is Commercial Carl.
Yeah, I should have explained that a little bit.
Oh,
So Carl, he likes to bring meat home. We'll put it that way. Yeah. Carl shot 2 does a couple of years ago with the old Lee Enfield.
He's like an old market hunter.
And like afterwards, and like I say this, like it's totally legal, but like I'll say this honestly, right after I did it, like I shot the one and I thought I missed him.
Mm-hmm.
And like in hindsight, I don't know why I thought that, because it kind of it acted like a little bit of a hit, and it was close. It was 30 yards away, and I had a rifle, old World War I rifle. That thing's badass, bolt action.
Oh, you're talking the does now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she bolted, and then the other one just didn't. She like did a little J and came around, so I just re-racked and I shot that one. And then when I got down, that one just fell over. And then I got down and I was like, man, you know what? You might have actually shot that first one.
Sure.
And then she was behind me like 30 yards.
But you had tags for both.
Oh, yeah, totally
That's
legal.
why you're able to share the story.
100%, yeah.
The other thing you may not know is Brad could have a heck of a predator hunting third YouTube channel. His wife basically fought a bobcat in their yard.
Yeah.
That was like last
is that
year,
right?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so did our, rest in peace, Scotty, our goose, who just recently got killed. But we got a
By
whole...
you?
No.
Sorry,
I'd love to talk about this real quick, actually, because
Okay.
I'd like to pick your guys' brains, because it was a little bit of a unsolved mystery, shall we say. I would love to figure out what killed it. So it's a big Toulouse goose, handsome
I
fella.
don't know what that means.
Like the ones they make the foie gras, real beautiful. They use them in like China as like guard geese.
They're like tan, right? Got
Tan,
an
brownish,
beak.
orange beak, like oddly human eyes. They have little souls behind them, and they're very intelligent and aggressive and big. And they shake their wings and they would bite the kids and my wife and shit. I got a kick out. At first, I didn't like him, and I had to insert like the alpha. He would come at me, and I'm not gonna lie, come at me if you want. I'm talking to the people listening, but I would give him a little beak jab.
Yeah.
And
my buddy Danny Bolton was just saying this, man.
Danny's good dude, man. I
They
love
had
Danny.
a duck that kept attacking people.
Yeah, you gotta.
And he said he eventually had to do where he had to hold that duck down.
Yeah, I've grabbed them.
Stop doing it.
And then
the duck was like, "Jeez."
1,000%. So
And it didn't mess with him anymore.
it took a couple months, but Scotty ended up, he would go after everyone. I came around, he would, nope, not at all. Like, not even a little bit. So we had a little understanding, and then we became friends. But let me get to the bad part, Scotty, rest in peace. He beat off a full-grown bobcat, too.
Okay.
Chased him
off.
Oh, yeah. And so I found him one morning. He didn't go in the coop that night. And I found him, his one leg was severed off, and his entire cavity, his gut cavity was completely removed. Breasts were not harmed at all. Neck didn't appear to have any flesh wounds or blood spots or bite marks or anything. Just trying to figure out what might have killed it.
Do your wife and kids have alibis?
My youngest, he might, and he's too much of a sweetheart. No, they check out. But
Ate the guts out of it. No neck marks. And pulled a ham off it.
No. Oh, yeah, and pull the ham off.
And this is in Connecticut.
This is in Connecticut, coastal Connecticut on the border of Rhode Island.
I got nothing. There's probably people there's probably like goose farmers that would be like, oh, telltale, whatever. Red fox or, I don't know.
Well, I think, a cat probably would have took the animal.
No.
Or ate it. It would just leave a
No,
pile.
how big is the thing?
Probably pretty big.
No, I wouldn't assume that it would haul it off.
No. I guess it could
But
have
I'm
been
like, but I'm drawing a blank. I'm sure there's people that are like,
Raccoons.
that's a whatever, because they've experienced it before.
Maybe it's not a fun game to figure out.
I figured a coyote or even like a
No, it's a
bobcat
real fun
would-
game. I
yeah.
just don't want to start telling you answers that are untrue.
I feel like it's a pretty short list of things it could be.
Yeah.
Right?
Bobcat. I don't think it was a
Coyote.
fox. I think a fox.
Gray fox, red fox.
I don't think it would have been desperate and really hungry to have to take. I think it was something.
I would
big.
not rule out a fox.
I know they're little kill machines, but Scotty was he was big, man.
Would a weasel take down a big old goose?
Fisher cat.
Man, like a weasel can take down something way bigger than him. Yanni, well, I mean, of course they
figured the
do, but
neck
like,
would be
think about
messed up.
a weasel killing think about an ermine killing a cottontail rabbit. I mean, things
I
weighs
asked
5 times what he weighs.
I asked my buddy who grew up in the area, very outdoorsy, what he thought it was, and he said, without a question, he thought it was a raccoon because of the time of the year. Early spring is when they have babies, and they tend to get really. They do like pretty crazy acts of aggression. and maybe because it didn't eat a lot of the meat, but just its organs, it was like a replenishment of. That's my like ongoing.
He's getting a little deep.
Yeah, that's gotta.
He likes foie. He's got a taste for foie gras.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff having babies this time of year too.
that's a good point, right? Just about everything.
What'd you do with it? Did you eat the thing? Eat Scotty?
No, man, he was it would have weirded me out. I buried him and we made a little rock pile. I pulled a couple of his feathers.
So he's
out
got
of
like
his got a little crate behind the coop.
like a little site.
Those other ducks, it was the good one, man. I wish any of the other ones could have took it, and I would.
Do you have graves for anything else on
Nah,
on
man,
the
just
acreage?
Scotty.
That's it.
Well, it's an
And a
old
bunch of
place. There's
humans.
probably some other dead things there.
Well, there's about 75 humans on my property that are buried, but
Does anyone want to? I mean, we kind of beat the piss out of it, but anybody want to touch on the vote? The live scan vote came in.
Oh, well, I'll just tell you that I've already had people writing in and kind of hating me for
What'd you
talking
do?
about.
What's the
just
vote?
being in favor of regulating technology.
Well, you're part of a slim majority.
for those that just tuning in, what's a little backstory of the
Yeah,
So
topic?
Okay.
LiveScope, are you familiar with LiveScope?
No,
It's
I'm a newborn baby.
super fancy like
Carl would love
sonar where
Carl's
you
into
can
it?
where you can like watch fish in live action on your screen.
Wait, what are you talking about? Ice fishing or something?
Yeah, they use
Boat
it for
fishing,
ice
ice fishing, whatever.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
it's like a new fish finder.
It has kind of the quality of looking at. It's nothing at all to do with this, but it has sort of the quality of looking at like on dry land, looking at infrared imaging.
Gotcha.
But it's like a sonar, not even sonar, right? Not technically.
Like, can you
Whatever.
identify
Sonar, yeah.
species with it?
Very a very instantaneous 360 scan.
Yep. So you can look at structure. You can look at fish moving around. You can actually
And
see
you
them take
can
the bait.
place distance from the boat very effectively.
I'm not judging.
You can place depth, like where it sits in the water column. I mean, that thing could be 20 feet away, depending. Let's say 12 feet away, whatever. You'd be like, oh, there's a walleye right there, 2 feet off the bottom or whatever, and it's right there, cast right there. That's LiveScope.
Here's an
Listen,
example.
you're not
You
gonna
can see the
beat
tree in pretty great detail there, Brad.
Whatever.
Oh, you're showing them it.
Show 'em.
Buy them and put them on your boat if you want. I mean, it's
Okay.
never gonna go away. But I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't necessarily support it. But it's I
Well,
don't
you
know.
don't live in Wisconsin.
That thing.
Right.
Yeah, these
In Wisconsin,
freshwater guys get nuts, man.
It was put out to Wisconsin. It was put out to Wisconsinites.
and
for vote.
landlocked fishers get crazy.
Wisconsin
man.
has a beautiful, depending on who you ask, a beautiful or very frustrating way that citizens can put forward potential legislation. And we've talked about before. You put up an idea, and the first hurdle is you go out to the public and people that choose to vote on this stuff and be like, hey, what do you think about X? Depending on how that vote goes, commissioners, lawmakers, whoever will pick up the question and pursue it. And it's like, what do they call it? Like a citizen initiative.
Yep.
So a LiveScope ban question came out to people in Wisconsin that choose to vote on this. And what I like about these is a really interesting snapshot. In the past, you talked about in the same cycle, someone said, should youth turkey season be moved from 2 days to 4 days? And they said, should youth deer season be moved from 2 days to 4 days? Youth turkey, everyone voted, yep, have at it. The same ballot. Youth deer, nope. Okay, so it's like a really interesting snapshot of where people's heads are.
That's bizarre.
On the LiveScope ban question, 41.6% support banning. It's neck and neck. 38.5% oppose banning. 19.9% have no opinion. So a very narrow majority. So to act like Cal is somehow outlandish, he falls within a narrow majority. And then if the people that had no opinion were pressed to decide, I'm assuming it'd probably stay maybe the same. I
You
don't
can
know.
split
probably stay
them.
the
That's
same.
like
Yeah.
19.20%. You split 10 and 10. It's right.
I'd
right down
love
the
to
middle.
dig in here and find like what percentage already own the technology.
And what percent even knew what they were talking about?
Right.
They're like, what?
Right. And
Hell
then
no.
what percentage of the people who own the technology might flip flop on it. But Steve, you'll love this. The folks that wrote in and they were like, oh, Want to limit technology, do you? They use the.
What about your?
Oh
Sounded
yeah,
like a Yoda
you know, and it's like,
question.
yeah, I'm gonna come to the office naked, no computer, yeah. Because I don't like LiveScope, obviously.
Well, when we had our discussion, we covered that. We covered all of the technology. Yeah, and just turns out Cal sits. I turn out like I'm kind of like, I hem and hawed. Cal's
did
part
you
of
land?
Cal's part of the narrow majority that's uncomfortable.
Why would you make fishing more efficient? That like it's like you. Oh, you got your limit of stuff. Now you got to go home.
Commercial
Neat.
Carl knows.
I don't think it's that great, to be honest.
Your turkey hunting story?
Yeah, what about it?
Oh, I just got an observation for you.
Yeah.
Me and my boy this year were debating how like when you say like killing them off the roost, right? How soon, like how late in the what needs to happen to be able to say you killed it off the roost? Meaning, if a tom like comes down and lands and comes off his roost tree and lands, and you shoot it, no one's gonna argue like you killed it off the roost.
Well, killing it off the roost to me in my brain would be like someone who is like shooting birds out of a tree.
No, that's not what that means.
Okay.
That's not what that means.
So killing
That
a bird
means
off the
like
roost. So you
shooting it
just
up in its roost, I guess would be like shooting off the roost
Which is
means
illegal
you just
where
right
I'm
off
from.
the bat.
Okay.
So
So what's the question?
Well, we were hunting and we had some come off the roost, but then it took maybe an hour
As long as it's
to
legal
draw
shooting
them
limit,
over. And then
shooting
I was
time.
like, you killed them off the roost. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you didn't kill them off the roost. I was like wondering at what point did you not kill it off the roost?
If he came down, I guess how I would answer that, as long as it's legal shooting time, and then if they came down within 30 yards of where they touch ground, I would call that killing them on the roost then. If they start going away and then coming back, then you're just like,
Oh, hold the phone here, bud. Okay, you were talking to Dirt yesterday. Oh, Garrett Smith was filming with us, and Garrett was like kind of bummed because they just did a little family outing, turkey hunt in Eastern Montana. And it
Dirt's
was
hunting
like,
stories always make me anxious.
and he's like, yeah, and I didn't know it was legal to kill him on the roost,
on the roost, he said,
and was bummed about it.
Like,
and Brad's like, really frowned upon, bud.
Yeah, you don't want to tell
Well,
people
in some
you do
states you
that.
can't.
Some states you
So
can't.
Dirt was like, had I known, I would have had no problem.
He's like, had I known, I would have had a turkey.
Carl won't even shoot him out of a tree. That ain't turkey hunting.
I never have, but I tried one time.
Tried what?
Like I'm the only guy you'll ever meet that missed one.
In the tree. That's the luckiest shot you ever
That
took, Steve.
missed one out of the tree, and I got under that tree. It was when I first started turkey hunting. I got under the tree, and you can see it gobble. And he stretched his neck out, and I'm like, why not, dude?
Just tried to take it.
And whiffed it. And I'm like, how would you whiff that shot?
Did he just fly away?
Oh, he was out of the tree
Flew
then.
to the next day.
Yeah. So
Turkeys?
I tried. And now, listen, now, and to clarify, not proud of that. And I have since had multiple opportunities where I could have shot a turkey up in a tree, but did not shoot a turkey up in the tree. One time with my kid because I didn't want to get him going down that path.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to put this in your day you announce your campaign in that nice.
Oh, yeah,
Google
it'll be
Doc.
on there. Miss a turkey out of a tree.
I have no problem.
I'll be like
if
shot
you-
that turkey out of a tree. So I'm like, he didn't shoot that tree. He missed.
If you're somebody who wants turkey meat and you have one day to hunt, and that's the situation that unravels
Then
at the
it's
end of the
legal.
day, knock yourself out. I'm not going to judge you. I don't care.
We had a guy write in one time. Why is it bad to shoot a flying turkey, but it's bad to shoot a duck standing still?
Well, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad to shoot a duck on the water, right?
But he's like, I don't get it. Like,
Explain that to
so
an
some
alien.
birds,
Right.
it's better to shoot it standing there, and some birds, it's bad. You got to shoot when they're flying. But then, he just got confused.
I don't know. Is it bad to pheasant a turkey? I mean, if he's like, and he's coming across
that's frowned upon.
We call that
man.
Arkansasing.
No,
That's not what Arkansas is.
Arkansas is anything that's like feels a little weird. Like
No,
shooting,
Arkansas is shooting ducks off the water.
Yeah, it's like shooting a dove off a power line,
No.
shooting a turkey in
No.
flight, shooting a
I
pheasant
was
in the
fishing
ditch.
with ex-girlfriend. She was my girlfriend at the time, but we'd been fishing for a couple of days. And the first day,
Hold on a minute.
I'm using one thing.
I got lost.
current ex-girlfriend
Oh yeah, I understand.
at the time.
You were fishing
going
with
out.
your old girlfriend.
Yeah, there you go.
Clay's gonna have to turn this part off.
Yeah, I know. Clay
Clay
does
don't
not
like anyone.
this talk.
Yeah, Clay don't like. Clay feels that he feels that once you're in your relationship, your final relationship, he feels that you should not mention the other ones.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
It's gonna be very complicated if you have an ass tattoo. For example, that's a hard one to never bring up again.
I got to fill the sleeve, and then it won't stick out so much.
First day we're fishing, and I figure out what the fish want to eat, and I'm catching lots of fish. This is ocean fishing and fly rod fishing, and I'm catching fish. And then the second day, I am fishing and not catching fish. And she points out, well, why aren't you using the thing that you were using yesterday and you were catching all the fish?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to try to explain that because I knew that worked, I didn't want to use it because I want to figure out what else I can get them to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain it in a way that made it make sense.
It's a version of you don't leave fish to find fish.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand. I would have thrown the same thing too.
Yeah.
We got try what? Not even once.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's part of why fishing
Challenge.
like stock ponds, farm ponds.
Well, pellet
isn't fun.
heads. Yeah, man. They
Because like once you determine that you can catch a whole bunch of them,
right, switch it up.
it's a buzzkill.
Mm.
Part of it is what's gonna like you're asking.
But I don't think
every
he
time you
was
cast,
chasing-
you're asking a question.
He wasn't chasing old pellet heads in a dam pond.
No,
He
you're but what I'm chasing is the high of figuring stuff out.
I get it. No, I get it. It's awesome. It's fun.
Increasing my game.
Get tired of just catching hogs.
Yep, exactly.
We've all been there.
But that goes right into this argument of like, we can't kill a turkey like that, right? Because there's plenty of people out there who are like, Giannis's buddy was like, oh, I don't use a decoy because I don't want to go to hell, right?
Oh,
It's
boy.
like there's all these different versions of the game.
Yeah, you're right. I value getting a turkey over not getting a turkey. That's pretty much generally true. I'll still ditch crawl them. I'll bushwhack them.
Oh yeah.
Look at the grin on his face.
Talking Carl's game now.
If I need to.
Right.
If I need to, and it's like the last gasp.
I'd love to
I'll
pull
ditch
them in on a
crawl.
string.
Yeah, I'll bushwhack them and ditch crawl them. But I've just gotten to a point in my life where I'm fairly certain I would not shoot a turkey down out of his roost tree.
Heck no, I wouldn't either. It's classless trash act.
But you'll ditch crawl them.
Oh, all day.
That is the singular largest return of white meat that I get all year.
I
is the
prefer
turkey.
crawling, man. It gets, you know what I mean? Like, get me off that rock out of my ass. Let me crawl around close the distance.
On the spectrum of turkey hunting behavior, shooting them out of the roost is trash,
Despicable.
classless act. Everything else is down here.
Amen, brother.
So, Brad, tell me more about the shows you're doing.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of adventure stuff, man. We do a lot of guests. We do a lot of. I brought a buddy of mine from up in Canada, another YouTube. He does more than that now. But Matty Matherson, I brought him for the season 1 opener. Brought him spearfishing up outside of Boston with the local legend. He was just a fun guest. The legend being this guy Charlie Nutting, who you guys would dig. He's a really cool guy and just really into sea foraging and just a really good spearfisher. And we went out chasing tog. Yeah.
How's that go?
Oh, it's the best, man.
It
didn't go good that day.
I've rod and reeled them, but I never. But
I don't ever want to do that again.
Okay, walk me through it.
So it's pretty shallow. Anywhere from this was in the fall, but we do it in the spring too, 2 seasons. But we brought them up in the fall. They're just up in the rocks, that rocky New England structure, and they're just holed up and doing their funny little things. They got like this white chin, and you just kind of see them like. They got a mug on them. Like they got these, they eat crabs. That's what most people fish with them, is little green crab. But you just go in there and you kind of just crawl around and it's just like another world. The visibility is not, it's not the best, but sometimes it's good enough. And then you just, I think, in Connecticut, we're allowed 2 per person.
Okay.
And
what's a big one?
I think they get pretty,
Holy
they get big. It's almost like our grouper, I call them beautiful white meat. And
how deep are you diving?
Not deep, man. Anywhere from like 6 feet to 30. You know, I don't really go any deeper than 20 for this. Don't need to.
Really?
All right, when you say big, are you like
The hell's making
a
that
15 pounder?
I think that's a real big one.
Oh, that's a real
That's
big
a-
one.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
Well,
like
your
a five-
hands. Well, I guess it could go multiple ways because the way he held his hands up, that could be like a 5-pound northern,
And it kind of grew.
Right. Well, I mean, like you pull them up. I think
or
they
it
have
could be
to
like
be.
a 100-pound oceanic sunfish.
I think they have to be 18 inches. But anyway, with the show, man, we brought them up there and we had a blast. We got some crabs, we got some lobster. We didn't get any tog, but Charlie got some cunner fish, which was a new species to me. Absolutely delicious. It was a complete happy accident, in my opinion. Like, I don't understand why that's not like a prime target because it was like phenomenal. So we had a blast, and this one old timer stopped by and he dropped off a bunch of scallops that he went diving for.
Oh, that's cool.
A little deeper. He was in like 70-foot scuba stuff. And then I brought him back to my house the next day, and we did a Making It episode of where we cooked up the whole bounty. You know,
Sweet.
so it was like watch the whole thing of us doing it, and then the next episode next week is where we will take that whole thing and cook it. We made a really awesome soup, and it was phenomenal.
You know what I did the other day that I hadn't done in a long time? I kind of forgot about it. You ever been poke poling?
Poke poling?
Poke poling
Like what, for like lobster? or
for
something?
monkey-faced eels?
No, that sounds great.
It's not an eel. It's like a prickleback. They're big. I'm holding my hands out.
So what do? Go poking around and
You know what? They're about like from, if you make a fist, like a good one's like from your elbow to your tip of your knuckles.
all right.
Okay. Now,
Close to a cubit then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh
They-
water.
They're,
the
they
standard
live in, they
measurement.
live in cracks.
oldest
They
unit
live
of
in
measurement.
cracks and rocks and stuff.
Fresh water.
No, saltwater
Oh,
fish.
okay.
Yeah. We're out in Northern California.
Okay.
You take a big bamboo rod
Put a little gig on it or something.
and you put a hunk of wire on the end, clothes hanger wire. Okay. You wrap it around the end of the bamboo rod and tape it. So you got like a little wire, like a little 6-inch wire pecker hanging out the end of that bamboo.
straight.
And then on that, you put a couple inches of leader and a hook. And you put squid on there.
Yeah.
And you jam that pole deep down into the cracks on low tide. Any kind of crack you can find.
And he balls up on it. Or...
No, he'll grab it and you'll feel him in it. And then you got to snake his ass back out of there.
Fun.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a blast, man.
Oh, I love that
I
stuff.
used to do that a fair bit. Not a fair bit, but I used to do it a bit. I have like a fake Uncle Don.
I love that.
Yeah, me and him would go. Man, that was a good time.
Telling Callahan, I gotta get you guys. You guys don't do much on in the Northeast. Do
Yeah.
ya?
No, I don't do anything over there.
Man, it's what a gem. Good hunting, good fishing, good duck hunting. Deers are phenomenal, but the fishing, the salt water is out of control, man.
Yep.
You guys got to come talking. We go right off my boat, easy.
Oh, I want to come get it all, minus the Lyme's disease.
Tuna, yeah, man. The
Yeah.
fishing's awesome.
And I
Right
feel
now-
like one time you were telling me a story, Brad, and there were 3 Vinnies involved in the story. You had to really clarify. But it's like I've never hunted or fished in a place that has so many Vinnies
The Vinasphere.
per capita.
no, just one, man. I just got the one guy
felt
back
like
home.
One time
visiting.
Vineyard.
there were multiple Vinnies involved. You had to clarify.
No, I used to work with one back in the day, but I don't really know too many Vinnies.
All right.
But that's a fella that I was turkey hunting with, and I've talked the last time I was here. I was
Yeah,
talking
you
about,
hang out with Vinny a lot.
Yeah, and we that's where I've done most of my tuna fishing with.
Got
He's
it.
pretty dialed in on
Tell me
that
about
stuff.
tell people about another show they might want to watch.
Yeah, Making It, man. That's the cooking one.
No, I mean like another thing you do.
Yeah, all right. So we went to a coffee. This was a really fun episode. It's not out yet, but we were down in Oaxaca, then Puerto Escondido, went to do a coffee video, and we drove into the mountains about 3 hours, and this really awesome farm where they grow it just in the jungles. You wouldn't even it was just a biodynamic. It wasn't like you wouldn't really tell it was a coffee farm unless you knew what you were looking at. And just saw the whole process. Got to pick some, how they wash it, how they just mill it all up and process it before it goes to like where your coffee house. So like,
Yep.
I really love the travel show of local legends, to where we can go and really like demystify and show just a human footprint of where things come from that people kind of take for granted. Something like a cup of coffee we all get every day, don't think twice about it, complain that it's $4. But if you saw what it took to actually produce that,
Yeah, like
man,
Juan Valdez
it
out
should
there
be
picking
like,
all that,
oh
every
my
one of
God,
those
it's like,
things,
talk
yeah.
about a hard job. I mean, these guys are bringing it out with donkeys, and it's just like, I think it takes, I forget what he said, it was like 70 cherries. It might be way more than that per cup of coffee.
No.
It's something wild, yeah. And people don't even know that it is a cherry or that it grows on a tree.
Well, no, hold on a minute. When when you make? I never counted them up.
Each cherry's got 2 lobes of a bean.
I might be butchering the number. You know, we're going to fact check that number. But like
You might be right. I never thought to count them. What I need to do is fill my coffee grinder up 2 times,
grind it,
dump it out, and count them.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that it takes around 70 roasted coffee beans to make 1 cup of coffee?
Check out the brain
Says
on Brad.
the internet.
Wow.
Yeah, the internet. Yeah, so it's like, you know, just taking stuff like that and showing just a human component that goes into what you get at either your Starbucks or your fancy coffee shop. And like, you know, it's amazing. Coffee should probably cost $60 a pound if you saw what it. And
Don't
it only
give
grows,
many ideas.
Yeah, man. Well, it won't work, you know. And it's so just being able to show like there's bigger farms where we could have gotten a much bigger scope and it would have been easier. Hell, maybe they would even have paid for the episode, right? But like, I really like being able to show folks that are doing a good thing. And we're going to tag it into another episode of my buddy who has a coffee shop up in Nova Scotia. Really cool cat, Dean Petty, Anchored Coffee up in Nova Scotia. He introduced me to this guy, Gus, who has this, you know, he won the Cup of Excellence down in Mexico. Just, I mean, incredible coffee. And we're going to fly like 200 pounds of it back up to Nova Scotia, roast it, and then sell it at a premium, as like in promotion too, to where all the proceeds are going to go back to the coffee. They have a charity foundation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. So like being able to tie product into the story and just kind of show, you know, educate folks, but also have a good time. And then when we were down there, we also, man, it was amazing. We did a making it episode and made some ceviche. And right now, I don't know if you've ever been to Puerto, but there's like a really cool cove. And every morning you go down there and all the locals are down there. And it's just, there's a couple little booths set up. Everyone's waiting. They got their coolers and their bags of ice. And all these like logs are all set up on the sand. And then you're like, all right, what's going on? You know, everyone's just kind of waiting. There's this one lady, she was selling this like warm, like milk rice kind of cocktail. It was hot. It was amazing. I was sitting there sipping that. This is great. Cameras are rolling. And all of a sudden, these guys get all fired up. And they're taking these big logs and they're setting up like a little roller setup runner. And all of a sudden, these guys come in these like 30-foot wooden boats with these outboards, just two-stroke Johnny and into it. And they just, you know, they don't even turn the motor off. It's just sucking air. And they just roll up on those logs.
On those rollers to beach the boats.
Yeah, they get like 40 feet up on the beach, and then everyone just swarms. And the guy's got this big, like, you know, styrofoam box of with ice in it, if you're lucky, and just all these, you know, mahi and red snapper and stuff. And this guy who he was with his kid, and you know, you got a camera, it sticks out, right? I'm a tall white guy, and it's like everyone else is Mexican, and so we stood out. But this one guy, like, took me in, and he helped me get the fish, which was really cool. Like, he didn't have to help me at all. It was the nicest people in the world. And he like, I don't speak Spanish. I was just kind of winging it with some pesos in my hand, hoping. But like, they were clearly taking care of people. And he like, you know, he like whistled at his buddy, and he scored me some really nice red snapper that we brought over to this beautiful woman and a couple small children that were just like scaling it and filleting. She did such an incredible job filleting the fish.
So that's her sort of like,
that's all she did.
That's her little biz.
That's her thing.
People
man.
buy fish and then she preps it.
Bring him to Maria.
Yeah.
And I would have left my wife for her. I loved her. She was like 60.
You had to be like, hey, your name's not Peggy by chance, is it?
I don't care. I'll cross it out.
I already got
I don't give a shit. I'll cross it right
Clay,
out.
You'd run into some issues with Clay there.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I never
don't
met
want to
Clay.
waste a good tattoo.
Where I'm going with Maria, I don't got to worry about Clay.
She'd be like, why you always calling me Peggy?
It's fine. I don't need, you know. But anyway, man, it was so. And then I took that fish and we made a making it episode with that meat that she carved up, and she did. Man, it was, you know, when someone does a real good job where the bottom of the fillet still had like all the silver, like subskin. You know, I don't know what the hell it's called, but when it has like still that like white, like cod's a good example. When someone does a good job, there's still that like white kind of like, I don't know what it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Yeah, like if, maybe
Kind of metallic-y looking.
Yeah, it's got like a weird little shine. Like, and you don't
Iridescent.
get that unless you're like razor off the skin. And
Sorry, the skin side.
yeah,
No, I understand. I thought you were talking about the other side.
when she goes to take the skin, when you take the skin off.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone was like perfect.
No, I
and
got
like,
you now.
Man, you could like see through the skin, and the rack was like she just nailed it. You know, she's been doing it. It seemed like
Yeah.
for her whole life probably.
Samantha wanted to sit down and watch one of Brad's episodes.
Okay.
And she's super into making sourdough bread right now. So she's been working on her starters and
She's
stuff.
a little late to the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That took off during the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
But Brad's got an episode that he hates.
Yeah, I almost didn't want to air it.
on sourdough bread that he did.
It
And
did well, but
Why do you hate it?
this was the greatest part though. Is I'm like, we sit down side by side and watch this thing, and I get done, and I'm like, oh, I can make sourdough bread. And Sam gets done with it, and she's like, that was way too chaotic for me.
she almost had a stroke.
She's like, I can't.
She almost put her in a seizure. Well, we have similar brains then. She's very different. She probably did well in school. You know? Like we jump around a little bit, you know, it's probably it's as much entertainment as it is educational. But yeah, I almost didn't want to put it out because it was fine, but like if you look closely, you really know what you're talking about. The crumb was a little off. It had some irregular kind of some air pockets in the crumb, and it just wasn't my. Like it was like I baked 200 loaves in the past year, and they've all been great. And like when we filmed, like everything, the ferment was a little weird. It was cold in the studio. I was like everything was like a little off. It worked, but I just wasn't super.
What's
happy.
that term for the air pocket?
I don't know. I made it up.
I thought you called it a crumb.
The crumb is just the inside. You have your crust, which is the outside crunchy crust.
Oh,
and then the crumb is the whole inside. It's called crumb.
It's the part kids want.
Yeah, like you cut the crust off and you would leave a crumb bread sandwich. I guess no one would say that, but
Yeah,
Has it got a B on the end?
what's that? Crumb, just like bread crumbs,
Oh,
but it's crumb.
This says the air pockets in bread are called alveoli. ALVEO.
Like in your lungs.
ALVEOLI.
well then what's the outer part of a nipple?
Areola?
No,
or
you're
something.
talking areola. Yeah.
No, but look up the layers. It's
Those
crust
are
and
like
crumb.
the air sacs in your lung.
But
Same word.
Bread, you'd be
yeah.
like I'd put you at like expert level on bread.
No.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think
you
I'll ever
fly
achieve that.
regularly with loaves of bread that you make.
Yeah, well, no, I mean that's not. It's not a big deal with TSA. They don't.
No. I one time, it's funny, man.
But that puts you in a different category of bread maker. That's all I'm saying.
I got
stopped by TSA for having they had an interesting word choice. They just said like, hey, there's an organic mass.
Oh boy,
That was their terminology.
what was it? Meat?
Yeah. But I just thought it was a great word.
I
Organic mass.
I had a bad experience with transporting raw meat in TSA. I was coming back from an elk hunt, and I wanted to bring everything. I couldn't bring it all back. Right, I shot a cow elk. A really cool trip I went on, and anyway, I had this one small Yeti that I could put some fresh meat in to bring back. Right, and it was insane. I went to weigh it, and it was like a few pounds over, and I was like, hey, can't you just like charge me like I don't know, like an extra $100 or something? Like I'm not bringing the plane down with like 2 pounds extra meat, and like. She had to like open it up, and she was like, either you can get rid of it all, or I was like, what am I going to do with like this raw meat? So I had to go outside. There's a garbage can, and I had to like open it up. And
Pick
I
your
mean,
least
people were
favorite
looking
part.
at me like I was like discarding my ex-wife. I was like, had like blood on my hands, and I was like you don't want to see that at the airport. Someone like raw handling meat and putting it in a garbage can. And then eventually I had to go back in, and it was still a pound off, and I might have cursed at the lady.
I would have eaten some.
It was like 3 a.m, dude. I was not in the mood.
It's gonna take me a minute to eat 2 pounds.
But I had to throw a few. I guess this isn't a
But
great
you're going to
story.
sit here and watch me do it.
But then eventually I got it down, and I had to, and checked it.
Here's the anatomy of bread. The outside, the surface is the crust. The score is the cut you make, which creates the bloom.
Ooh.
The inside soft part is the crumb. And
How do you
then
spell that?
CRUMB.
Okay.
And then the air pockets are a cell.
And then what's left over on the table when you're done
Crumbs.
are crumbs. Plural.
Sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
Checks out.
That's great. Hit me with that again.
So the crust is the outside, the score is the cut you make that creates the bloom, the crumb is the soft part of the bread, and the cell is the air pocket.
You can picture a pretentious ass bread store making a big deal about all that.
Sure. We got the best cells in the valley.
So
Best
my crumb was a
areolae.
little off. I had some. You want a nice little tight consistency of your cell. I had some like amoebas formed in the one corner, and like just like an odd shape is what I mean. And that I was very disappointed in that. People said it would look great, but like they clearly didn't know what they were talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
To me, I was like, I'll eat that right now.
Delicious.
I wish I had that in my
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
It was
right
wonderful,
now.
but it
Looked
was it had flaws, and I didn't want that to represent my video. I didn't want to shoot it again either because it takes 3 days to do.
Do you mind What's up with your shirt with Jerry Garcia and a diver down flag?
Diver down, man. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Jerry never dove in his life, I'm guessing.
He made those big neckties.
Big neckties?
You didn't know that?
Well, he made you mean like suit ties?
He got into making suit ties.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a really cool shirt. There's a bunch, a couple old ones. Maybe it's probably a lyric.
But
it doesn't
mean it's not like he wasn't a diver. He doesn't have a song called Diver
I don't think so,
Down.
man. Jerry, I think he drank Coca-Cola and did heroin, man. I don't think he was diving much. But I'd like to believe he would get into it. I wouldn't mind going fishing with Jerry.
Yeah. Why did he get into that necktie thing?
Great question. Maybe he just got weird, painting or something, or ties suck, man. I'm a bolo guy now.
I think I was in an Arby's parking lot when I heard he died.
Yeah, I believe that. They got the meat, right? Isn't that Arby's? We got the meat.
They do
Steve,
that. It
you'd
wasn't
be-
the Arby's that did that big thing for a couple years where they would do those venison sandwiches
Right,
and they'd
yep.
drum up all kinds of media.
Yep.
Wait,
were
they
trying
did
to,
venison?
Yeah, I do.
Where was
Well,
it
they were
coming from?
trying to
Red
make it like
salmon?
a thing that they thought deer hunters would get into. So they'd find every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the internet that had any kind of hunting type media, and they'd try to get you riled up about how they were offering venison sandwiches.
Some gravy?
And you'd be like, well, it's not that kind of venison. I mean, it has nothing to do with deer hunting. You're just probably buying red deer from New Zealand or
Right,
something.
right.
But they thought that it would be exciting.
And it wasn't.
Not maybe to someone it was. It was the people that write news articles.
Did you ever
Stick
have
to
it?
curly fries.
Oh, I
No, I never had it.
Steve here is from the Dark Star and oral biography of Jerry Garcia regarding the ties. Here's the quote. Jerry did not want to do the ties. I brought the proposal to him. Nora thought it was a great idea. And
Nora Jones?
Nora Sage.
Probably
it
a
says.
manager trying to squeak some money out of the
Nora
system.
thought it was a great idea, and Jerry said, quote, ties? Do you know what I think of ties? This is what I think of ties. That's where the quote ends. And then he pulled an invisible tie up over his head like a hangman's noose. I said, okay, I'll never mention it to you again. Then Nora got a lawyer to call him in Hawaii on vacation, and Jerry didn't say no. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no.
Scandal!
I told them all, quote, he doesn't want to do it, but they ignored me. It was a big embarrassment to him. He didn't want that done.
Man, I'm glad you
Oh.
shared that. Good for you,
God,
Jerry. I knew
check
you were
out the
cooler.
reporting chops on Spencer.
Yeah.
All the way from reddit.com.
Love that. He got screwed.
Steve, Brad's got some fish aging chops too that I think you'd be really interested in. We've
Yeah,
been
man.
covering that.
Love it. Big fan.
I don't doubt that I'd be interested, but I doubt that it's true. Tell me.
doubt that what's true. Did I do it?
Well, you pull out their old list and
No,
do the
no,
micro
no.
spectrum. You got a micro spectrometer.
Aging
No,
the flesh
no.
for flavor.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Hey, if it's legal,
I thought
man.
you'd be like that.
You're not
Perch is
counting
six.
rings.
Listen, if it's legal, I don't care how old it is, man. With the fish.
Okay. So
Um,
aging fish in a restaurant.
No, my house. So
Oh,
they just catching my.
Yeah, I thought Cal meant telling how old it is or how long it's
No,
been.
no.
How long it's been in your fridge.
No, not at all.
Oh,
I've
you
got
like to age fish.
Yeah, so I got it out. When
I haven't gotten into that. Go ahead.
So it's great, man. I could just.
I know people are all
just
hopped
fish-
up on this right
Well,
now.
just fish handling in general. Big, I like to promote it as much as possible. Just like hunting, like killing. It's not. I hate to say the easiest part because it's not always easy to hunt.
No,
but
it's hard, man.
Yeah, heck yeah. But pulling the trigger is easy, right? And then the real work starts. Breaking it down, taking responsibility for what you kill, and the same stuff with fish. I'm a big believer and advocate for bleeding that fish out if you're going to harvest it as soon as possible. I cut the gills, just their main arteries, and they bleed out. Just pump the blood out. That's usually what goes bad in fish first, and you get that nasty kind of smell. People say it's got an off flavor or real fishy smell. It's usually the blood or how it was treated. I don't even really put them on and then I gut them and scale them and cut all the gills out before I bring them home. And then I'll just put a little meat hook right through the tail, try to hit that spine and just hang them head down for, depending on the fish, but for the most part, few days minimum, up to 2 weeks.
At what temp?
And I built a walk-in fridge at my house, so I keep it at 38.
So let's name a fish for me.
Striped bass. It's just
That's
frowned
great.
upon.
That's a great example.
Well, depends what you ask. But
It's a great example because
people know it.
yeah,
You can see
it's a
one.
popular
right?
game fish.
So slot fish, right now I think it's 28, 31 inches. Say you catch one legally, you're entitled to bring one fish home a day.
Okay.
And
So scale it. You bleed it.
bleed it, scale it, gut it.
You don't EKG may it.
Well, not with that fish. The gills kind of do it, but I have with the tuna and stuff like that before. If you know where you're aiming, just kind of, and you see it, it's amazing. They just kind of
melt.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But like, killing it quick and getting that blood out and then getting it cold. Don't let it just sit on. Even though if you're whacking fish and it's, you don't realize it's, actually 80 degrees out.
Get a little carried away.
Yeah, man, it's real fun just making a pile of these things.
Yep. Then you find one under the seat later.
Yeah, or he's just sitting back in, side gunnel there or back by the transom, and it's just bacon.
Back in the spilled gas.
Yeah, so like, yeah, man, exactly. So like, get that fish, take care of it, and like that's really going to translate through with the quality of it. And then hanging it just kind of lets that rigor fall out.
But I want to. So I just want to walk through it, just make sure we're getting it. Like, so bleed it, you'll gut it, you'll scale it, you'll gill it.
Yeah.
But then you got it. There it is.
Then you put it in the cooler.
And you cool it. But when you get home, then you're going into a fridge.
Yep, I wipe it off with a little paper
so
towel.
So it's, I don't know, 35 to 39 degrees or whatever.
Yeah, let's say 36 and a half.
Okay. And you hang it upside down.
I hang it from the tail head down and let any remaining blood. I used to do it from the head because it was easier to hang them.
Sure. Yeah.
But then I saw like right at like the shoulders. I don't know if fish have shoulders, but like
right at the collars. Big fish got shoulders.
Right.
Universal truth.
Yeah. And like I would see some like little bit of like drainage tinging into the meat.
Okay.
So I started to hang them head down. Anything remaining coming out of that, like that cut and the gill and any of that head would drain out. And that fish would just get like a little firm, and that skin would just wick off any moisture, and the fish would relax. And then it's way easier to fillet. You just cut right through it.
And how many days might you go?
I mean, I've gone. I think the sweet spot is, again, depending, but like I really think just a few days is all. Like 5 days, 4 days has been 5 days. I think is the sweet spot with the striped bass and the tog, which is primarily what I hang, and then it's just awesome. It cooks up just like firm, sweet. It's just got like a real clean flavor. And man, that skin, you can get it like a potato chip. You got all that moisture kind of whipped off of it.
I could see that.
And it's just, it's hard.
And probably if you go to, I bet you even then, if you did go to freeze it, it's going to be a lot nicer.
I'm glad you brought
that up. It's not going to be like a wet soaking mess,
100%, man. All that moisture is kind of released already or evaporated or drained out. And you're 1,000% right. I've seen a lot less like cell explosion and all that drainage, that bag of nasty fish water. It actually pulls out pretty dry. It's a way superior way to freeze fish, 100%. And I've like, it's because like some frozen fish, man, it ain't that good. Like people kind of botch it and depending on how you defrost it as well, I think, taking it out of that bag when you defrost it makes a big difference as well. And then it like drain in a colander or something. It's shockingly, it holds well when you treat it that way.
One of the best fish and game prep tools I have, my brother Danny got it for me. It's like a plastic tray. It's like a commercial plastic tray, yay deep. And it's got that insert.
Like rubbery?
No, it's got that perforated insert that sits on the floor.
Okay.
So, right, and that insert sits, I don't know, man, it ain't a half inch off the bottom.
So it's a double.
Yeah.
Like a hotel
it's like a grate in your sink.
You clean a turkey. Yeah, let's say you got a turkey breast. You come home, it's got feathers all over it, whatever the hell nastiness, Wash it all up, and it's kind of wet.
Little drainage tray.
Yeah, you take that thing and lay that sucker on that little drainage tray.
Perforated.
Let that in the fridge, and
yeah.
Because you spend your whole life pulling everything out of its own muck.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like you put some fillets in a bowl and throw them in your fridge, and later you're like, man.
I don't do it anymore.
Or like the ass end of a beaver in a Ziploc.
Yeah, it's just like you got like
it's so nasty.
Its own muck.
100%.
To do that, I love
game
that
changer.
Thing. Yeah, I love that thing.
Game changer. I open it, say I go buy a chicken, we all do it, right? I hang it.
No, I don't do that.
You never.
And I get
chicken?
mad at my family when they do that.
Well, whatever. But I sometimes buy chickens.
My kids will get like confessional.
Oh, so Daddy, please.
Like,
we just want chicken, Dad.
I bought a chicken.
Really? What? Little factory bird. But no, even like or a steak, a pork chop. I hang everything. I salt it ahead of time, salt it a day ahead, and I hang it. And it's the biggest advice I can get, especially a chicken. Salt that thing day ahead, hang it, or put it on a perforated hotel pay, whatever. And game changer.
Yeah, I like to take venison loins, get them all nice, all nicey nice, salt them, then put them in my little tray.
Oh yeah,
slide that tray in my fridge.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Well, it seasons it all the way through. We talked about this a little.
I don't quite seal the lid.
Then why not to breathe a
I
little?
leave a little crack. I could show you sometime.
Yeah, you want? Like I said, I don't even wrap it. I just hang it.
Mhm.
Hang it. I got a little just a little. I made like some hanging trays, racks in there. Put everything on a little hook and let it. I mean, I know it's a luxury, but yeah, letting it breathe, 100%.
Yep.
Oh, one of these days I'll be living the walk-in life. That's a long dream of mine.
Game changer. I pray I'm going to try the hardest for the rest of my life to never not live with that one.
Yeah.
Hang deer, ducks, turkey. It's amazing. It's great. You go get
Now
a
you
big
make
old,
me a little bit
make a
jealous.
big. Steve, you have to. You have to build one. I'm surprised you don't have one. You should have one here. You should have 2 of them. And you go get a big old bushel of oysters or clams. Just put the whole bushel in there. Lobsters, keep them in there. Everybody's happy. And then you keep the house nice and clean.
Mm-hmm.
Wife's got the little normal fridge. We got our milk and we've got our apples and stuff. But outside, it's like
tattoo on your butt.
Yeah. Outside, it's like butt tattoos. I built it in the studio where we shoot the making it stuff, and it's just, man, what a luxury.
Brad, thanks for coming on the show, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime. Come out east. We got some stuff to cook and kill and harvest.
I'd like to.
Let's get in the ocean.
I don't know why I don't pay much. Not that I don't pay attention. Just you kind of like fall in where you got like friends in certain areas.
Yeah, I get it,
You
man.
You fall in like where
We
you
could
got
be
like
friends.
where you fall into whatever. Like
I've been pitching this for a long. Call me whenever you guys are ready.
Steve.
March it up. This would be my final pitch here, okay? And then I won't. I'll probably annoy you again. But you got to do. You
I
guys
don't
should
feel
be
like you
doing.
really brought this up that much.
Oh, big time. Maybe it's
To
been
me?
Oh yeah, you got to do a New England chapter of MeatEater, or at least come on tour. You guys
Oh.
never come on tour. I'll sell you out.
We
Come-
did. We came to Philadelphia.
That's not New England. Philadelphia.
No, it's like too far away from New England, huh?
Yeah, dude, that's like
Where does
yeah.
New England start?
It's the 7 states, I believe.
Massachusetts.
No, I would
What's
say
the bottom end of New England?
Connecticut.
Okay.
7 New England states: Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Yeah, I haven't been there.
You gotta go, man. Fishing, hunting, world class.
I think there'd be something very cool about for all the
Let's do a festival.
we kind of talk very smallly about the small state of Rhode Island. I think it'd be very
Ocean
fun
state.
to go out there and do something in Rhode
Yeah.
Island.
Well,
Right.
I identify as a Rhode Islander.
I've fished Rhode Island heavy. I don't want to say the circumstances because I don't want to offend Clay. But I knew someone. I knew someone who had a
Intimately.
writing fellowship there
Cool. Great state.
and did a lot of bluefish and striped bass,
Oh, bluefish. Pound for pound. What a fighter.
shore fishing.
Whew.
Oh, you get where you can't get nothing done.
Don't get me started.
Because that time of year, late summer, when you got to go down to the beach and check up and down the beach,
September. Oh God.
and then you go back and try to do some more work, and you're like, oh shit.
No, get back
And you
down
got to
there.
go back down there and look up and down the beach.
They're rolling on the
'Cause
beach when you're
waiting
checking
to
emails.
see like all that boiling water. You can't get anything
Best.
done.
The bunker or just everything's just boiling.
Yeah, thinking that you'd be sitting there doing some work, and just
Shut
down the
that
road, all those fish are doing that.
Man, spring in September, October, I fish 5. It takes me 10 minutes to get to my boat slip. And then in 10 minutes, not even then, we're on the fish, man. It's like, it's the best.
Sportsman's paradise.
Oh, it's a dream.
To hell with Louisiana.
Well, I didn't say that, but.
Well, it's a sportsman's paradise.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, one of many.
Cold water, though, it's great, man. You got to come up. You should do a little.
Well,
New
give
England-
me a water temp when you're diving.
Well, right now, cold as shit.
Tell me what.
High 50s.
Okay, I just discovered about myself.
You do not like.
Well, 54, fine. 50, no good.
No.
It's a narrow, like, something happens with water between when it's 50 and when it's 54.
It gets a bit cold. And you know what? I might even be a little off, to be honest. I think I'm in the spring when like Tog first opens up. When we jumped in the first time, it was a couple days after opening. It opens up in April, I believe. I believe it was a bit colder than 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 50, your face, the like around the edge of your wetsuit. At 50, your face is like,
You
bah!
get the first 10
At
minutes.
54, your face is like, yeah.
First 10 minutes, you get a brain freeze.
Yeah.
But usually the hands and the feet start getting cold after an hour.
Yeah.
But you're kicking around, you're moving. But no, I think in the early spring, water temperature in New England, where I'm at, it's probably high 30s, low 40s. It's cold. It's the coldest time of the year.
Yeah.
And then in the fall, you don't even need a wetsuit. September, I mean, you're in board shorts.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Leone.
Thank you guys. We'll see you later, man.
You're a good man, Brad.
You're a better one.
Thank you, buddy.
women can do the same. They can hunt